Round 10 of the 2023 FIA Formula One World Championship marks the 74th British Grand Prix, an event that has contributed to the excitement of the sport since the championship's first season in 1950. Welcome to F1 Live and to our coverage of a fast, sweeping and challenging 3.6-mile circuit with some of the highest corner speeds of the year and a huge crowd of super enthusiastic fans who have so many different views of Formula One cars being pushed to the absolute limit. Those 52 laps, well, we'll see how it all works out around the 18 turns on this fairly level circuit and with some higher wind speeds today than we had in qualifying yesterday. That is all going to be part and parcel of what to watch. Turns 3 and 4, crucial on the opening lap. You may well see some passes here going through turns 3 and 4, the further area that they actually get onto the brakes after making their start from the grid. Down at Stowe Corner, we've seen plenty of incidents over the years. Prost versus Arnoux in 1983, and we've seen more recent incidents, particularly a couple of years ago between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. And Hamilton, Perez and Leclerc, all three of them last year, this was a tremendous dice, and Lewis Hamilton snuck through on the inside to take that place right then. Plenty to look forward to, and the tyres that we're expecting them to run, the soft, the medium and the hard, the Red Bull soft tyre. Let's see whether anyone's going to start the race on that. Quite possibly yes. In fact, I can see already that George Russell is going to be starting the race on the soft tyre. We've got most of them starting on the medium, one or two on the hard compound tyre. You can see the cloud in the background and a little bit of rain in the distance. Whether that's actually going to affect it, we shall have to wait and see. At the back, we have Valtteri Bottas and Kevin Magnussen on the final row of the grid. Zhou Guanyu and Nick de Vries on the row just ahead. Up ahead for them, we've got Sergio Perez trying to go from 15th after a poor qualifying. Yuki Tsunoda is 16th on the grid. Logan Sargent 14th, matching his best so far. Esteban Ocon disappointed to start 13th, but a good chance to get in the points. Lance Stroll for Aston Martin starting in 12th place, and Nico Hülkenberg just outside the top 10 in 11th. Pierre Gasly starts in 10th place, with Fernando Alonso, a winner here at Silverstone in the past, starting 9th for Aston Martin. Alex Albon matching his best of the year in 8th. Lewis Hamilton, though, one of his poorest here at Silverstone for a long time, in 7th on the grid. His teammate George Russell starts in 6th, and Carlos Sainz starts from 5th position. On the second row, Charles Leclerc 4th, Oscar Piastri with his best grid position ever in Formula One so far. And then on the front row, Lando Norris, first front row since Sochi 2021, and alongside him the man on pole position, Max Verstappen, the championship leader. So what we're seeing is medium compound tyre on many of the cars up near the front. But as I mentioned, Jolien, George Russell is going to be starting on the soft tyre, and we've got just one or two on the hard compound.
Attack, attack, attack was the Mercedes motto today, and that's what they're going to do then with Russell's starting tyre. On the softs, he'll be racy in the opening laps, and there's just a bit of drizzle in the air as we're about to get released for this green flag, so soft tyres will fire up a little bit quicker, and with the track temperature cooling, that could be a good chance for Russell to gain places. Mediums for all the other main contenders, including Perez further back, and that'll give them a chance to do a one-stop in a conventional race, an easier one-stop, medium to hard.
So, James, it's fun to see a little bit of a difference in strategy already before we even get going. You never know, you get an early safety car, that can change things too.
And safety cars are likely here. I think it's 90% in the last 7 or 8 years we've seen a deployment of a safety car, so it's very possible. That definitely throws some strategies for a loop, and it'll be interesting to keep track of that. But to your point, Jolien, I mean, it went from very warm down on the grid to incredibly cool and cloudy very quickly. So I would not be surprised if we do get a bit of weather here in a bit, which, bad for them, good for us.
Okay, well, let's see. There's confirmation on your left-hand side of the screen as to who's on what compound tyre. Nico Hülkenberg on that hard tyre, so that's an interesting strategy. Valtteri Bottas as well from the back. We're getting all set then for the formation lap here for the British Grand Prix. About to get underway and starting from the front row for Lando Norris, and with right behind on the second row, well, not right behind, he's got Charles Leclerc right behind, but also behind is his teammate from McLaren, Oscar Piastri. So you can see the two orange and silver coloured McLarens as they are this weekend. They've put the special sort of chrome colouring on the cars to celebrate 60 years of the McLaren team being in existence. Other celebration, 75 years since racing first took place here in October 1948. Lots of history, but we're about to see some new history being formed here today. It's all about a brand new race.
Yeah, how many times have we had brilliant British Grand Prix in recent years as well? this track lends itself so well to racing. There's your predicted strategies between a 1 and a 2 stop. So those on the medium will try and get on them to a set of hards and go to the end on that. It's so dark overhead. For a minute I thought it was just raining a little bit more heavily, but so far it isn't. So it's all going to come down to those first few corners for the start. Turn 1, quick right-hander, flat out through turn 2. Constantina's in 1, where we saw Zhou be turned on his head this time last year. And then turn 3 and 4, big braking zones, chance to stick a nose up the inside, but also chance of a bit of a tangle as well. We saw with Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez last year as well. So those first few corners, then it will filter down towards Brooklands, which is another big chance to attack. And once they get here, halfway around the lap, then we'll probably get in a bit more of an order. But it's such a long run through those first half a lap, jockeying for position.
Max Verstappen moving the car around a lot, just generating a little bit of tyre heat. So is Oscar Piastri, the third car coming through. The 2 Ferraris we definitely will be keeping an eye on as well, though.
Yeah, I think they've got strong race pace. We saw that after Friday's practice, after the Red Bull. They were next in line, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to, I think, just maybe outpace, but also outfox the McLarens a little bit, just because it's sort of new for McLarens this season to be running this high up.
Jolyon, the soft tyre for George Russell, a lot of this is about the first lap, because you use a soft tyre, you do get a slightly better start.
He's had a few good starts recently as well, George, and from 6th, the Mercedes think they've got good race pace. They want to be fighting still for a podium, getting in the mix with the McLarens later on. They've got to try and pass at least one of those Ferraris in the opening few corners, so Russell will have grip off the line. Watch out for him on the left-hand side as the lights go out.
McLaren down in 6th place at the moment in the points, with both cars in the top, so far up in the top 10. They have got a chance of scoring good points versus Alpine, which is their main rival in terms of teams battle. Pierre Gasly in 10th and Esteban Ocon down in 13th place. So this could be an opportunity for McLaren to really close that gap to Alpine, even though it's a fairly big gap. Lewis Hamilton having to start from further down than he would like. An 8-time winner here. It's actually his lowest grid here at Silverstone since 2012, when he was 8th on the grid. Mind you, the British Grand Prix has been won from 7th on the grid in the past by Emerson Fittipaldi back in 1975. Let's see whether Lewis Hamilton can battle up with that sort of record as we get the whole grid in place and we're ready to go racing at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Lights out, away we go. Max Verstappen getting off the line, but it's a good start by Norris. A very good start. Lando Norris leads. Piastri's trying to take second, but Max Verstappen around the outside. But it is Lando Norris who leads from Max Verstappen in second place. And Piastri now having to defend from Charles Leclerc as Hamilton goes very, very wide and loses a bunch of places.
Yeah, Hamilton's lost out. Russell's gained 1 place in the Mercedes as well on those softs, but what a start from Norris. Just got the drive. Verstappen's lost the lead, did well to hold on to second, but Piastri is so close down to Brooklands.
Yeah, Piastri's actually having a little look around the outside, but Verstappen being a little cautious. He knows he's got a rapid car.
I mean, Piastri was just as quick off the line as Norris. He just had nowhere to go as he tries to make it work around the outside. Max isn't going to let that happen there.
He's not got grip, Max. He's struggling on the rear end, was really sideways coming into Brooklands, and Piastri's coming again towards Cops Corner.
It's a risky place to try and go down the inside, as we know. Oh, Verstappen going onto the dust. I wondered if he would make a mistake. He held it well.
Oh, 2021 all over again as Verstappen turns in from the outside. Norris leads the British Grand Prix, coming through Maggots and Beckett. And the crowd are loving it.
Listen to the crowd every corner around this racetrack, packed with 480,000 fans, like you saw on the graphic. They are cheering for the homeboy, Lando Norris, leading now into Stowe.
There is a little bit of rain around as well. We're hearing the drivers reporting a bit of rain on their visors. Hamilton down in 9th place. That first lap really has not worked well for Lewis Hamilton. But George Russell in 5th place. That has, as you said, gained him a place. 1 place gained by Russell, or 1 place lost by Sainz. On the other gain, Tsunoda's made 3 places. Hulkenberg has lost 3 places. So there's some of the biggest gains and losses there. But it is Lando Norris who has led the first lap at the British Grand Prix.
Hamilton's got back ahead of Gasly then, so 1 place gain. That must have been into Vale for Hamilton. No DRS, of course, at this early stage in the race. So Verstappen in second. Looks like he's finding some grip again now, having struggled for rear end off the line and then around the first half of a lap. Piastri quite racy in the McLaren, but he'll be pleased just to have ended that part. Ended lap 1 still in the top 3.
Perez trying to make some progress now. He didn't really make any progress on the opening lap. He's just gone past Logan Sargent, but he's still down in 15th place is Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. He'll be chasing after Nico Hulkenberg next. And both Williams cars have lost out a little bit on this opening lap. Alex Albon, who started 8th, has dropped down to 10th position. So scoring a point or two for Williams still is going to be a major challenge. As we look, there's Lewis Hamilton now putting the pressure on Fernando Alonso.
Hamilton's on the warpath, isn't he? He ran wide coming through turn 3. I imagine he was forced out there by someone having a look on the inside. Was that someone Fernando Alonso, who's made a couple of places on his opening lap in the Aston Martin? His race pace, Alonso, will be better than his qualifying pace, so this is quite an important pass that Hamilton will need to make use of what we expect is decent Mercedes race pace as well.
We're hearing there's a little bit of rain down at Luffield, turn 7. Meanwhile, though, we've seen Alonso and Hamilton go together many times, haven't we?
Yeah, we love to see it. I want to see it a little bit more here today, but yeah, I think you're right. I think Hamilton's absolutely fired up. That Mercedes looking pretty hooked up. I wonder if, as this cloud cover comes up, these track temps come down, it's going to help all those cars that struggle with tire management just keep those Pirellis underneath them.
DRS will be enabled, and Norris is right on the cusp of having a 1-second lead. It's so close there for Verstappen, and if Lando can just break away another couple of hundreds, that'll help protect. But Max, we know the Red Bull's got enormous straight line speed when it opens the DRS. I think he's going to have it down towards Brooklands.
Yeah, so that could be an opportunity. Let's have another look at the start, guys, and see who gained, who lost.
Verstappen just didn't get away. The clutch drop just didn't seem right for him, and both McLarens actually come through. First of all, it's Norris, then Piastri has a look as well. Verstappen's quite aggressive, holding it around the outside, good commitment. And further back, looking at Hamilton, oh no, he does just go wide. He was trying to come past the second Ferrari there, Carlos Sainz, and just missed his braking point and ran wide on his own, trying to move forward, ended up costing himself a couple of positions.
You see the reaction time there, Norris 3/100ths of a second quicker than Verstappen. It looks like more of a gain than that, but some of that's just on getting that power down.
Yeah, exactly. The reaction time looks similar enough, but it's all about getting your clutch drop right and then feeding in the power, and somewhere in that, Verstappen was nowhere near. Because look, both of them launched, but one of them is now launching at a much higher speed, and Norris, dream stuff for the Brit, leading at Silverstone.
Well, this is great, but how is he going to be able to hold off Max Verstappen? There is the battle. You're looking at it. There is Max Verstappen right in close now, down to under half a second between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. Piastri in 3rd. Then the Ferraris are split by George Russell. So Leclerc in 4th place, Russell 5th, Sainz in 6th. Alonso still holding off Lewis Hamilton as we ride on board with Max Verstappen. So how does he try and plan the pass here?
Well, a couple of corners here. Turn 3, now we're into turn 4, tightest corner on the circuit at the loop, and we're going to get DRS, so let's ride on board with Max, staring at the back of the race leader, Lando Norris in the McLaren, half a second back, and this is danger zone now for Norris.
Heading down towards the left-hander at Brooklands. Let's see how this goes. This is where we heard there was a little bit of rain earlier. I'm not actually seeing any on circuit though, so I don't think they're too badly affected yet, although Norris takes quite a wide line in. You often see a slightly different line style through Luffield.
Looked like he was going to miss the apex, but it's actually just a really late apex to get the car turned and fire it on this next straight then, up towards Copse Corner. Really quick right-hander, flat out in qualifying. It will not be right now in these early laps of the race with 100 kilos on board. And after this next sequence, Maggots and Beckett's are into another DRS zone down towards Stowe, but Norris is doing just enough to keep Verstappen at arm's length for the moment.
And in fact, in qualifying, the McLaren, we looked at some of the speed traces, that one of the fastest sections for them was without a Copse through Beckett's and down here, so hopefully he can kind of hold off a bigger gap for the DRS as it comes in. He's not quite close enough to attack.
And crucially, Piastri is within DRS zone of Max as well, so the three of them able to pull away a little bit. Leclerc outside of that range for Piastri to get the DRS, so these three cars are set to maybe just pull a little bit ahead of the rest of the field.
Would have been huge for Norris had Piastri got into second. They could have formed a DRS train of McLarens to keep the mighty Max Verstappen behind. But here we go on board with Max again through turn 1. Big commitment, high speed. We're back to half a second down on Norris. And we're back to turn 3. He's deep on the brakes there. He's good on the brakes. We've got one more corner and some more DRS. Norris has got to be ready for this. 5 laps into a 52, and he's got his mirrors full, and Max is closer this time.
That was a good exit too, wasn't it? Because both of them got a little bit of rear end movement. He didn't get any this time. He's got a really good run with the DRS. He's going to go for it down the inside into Brooklands, and Max Verstappen has taken the lead from Lando Norris. So Lando leading the early stages. He hasn't given up yet, but I think Max now has the pace.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, Lando's doing a good job to slot back in there, try to get DRS himself now in the draft, heading into Copse. Tough place to make it happen.
He rolled out the red carpet, didn't he? He didn't fight that at all, Norris. And in the end, Max just went to the inside. Thanks very much. I'll just brake a little bit later. And that was one of his easier moves for the race lead then from Verstappen. I think Norris knows when you've got the Red Bull behind you, so good on the brakes, so fast as a car with mighty top speed, you're not going to keep him back for another 47 laps. And now Piastri's quite close behind Lando as well, who will hope to just sit behind Verstappen.
Oh, that was an interesting little fleck from Charles Leclerc as George Russell getting a bit closer.
Yeah, Russell's done a great.
Really.
Yeah, those Mercedes are really strong right now. We're seeing Russell all over the back of Leclerc. Behind him, you see in the distance, Hamilton still on the back of Fernando Alonso trying to get that position back, but the Ferrari is definitely exposed right here, not getting DRS from Piastri in front.
Yeah, Leclerc's on the limit of defence, I think. The way that he's darting around and moving to the inside, then moving back, jinking to the outside before Stowe was pretty frowned upon. I'm surprised if Russell wouldn't get on the radio and complain about that one. And the two McLarens have gone from these guys.
If that's not moving and the braking, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Zip on cue.
I don't think it was great that from Leclerc. It's reactionary stuff, and it was one movement to the inside and then jinking back to the outside. It was very, very tight.
Look at this great battle, Alonso-Hamilton. Alonso knew he had to sort of defend to the inside. That was a fair move. He made the one move across. Hamilton had to move back to the outside. Clearly Hamilton's got good pace here versus the Aston Martin, but can he find a way through? Now, coming up to the next section, he's going in through a flat-out section basically now, not necessarily in the race on full fuel. Let's just see. You'll probably have a bit of a lift and brake here. In the qualifying, they can do that flat, but not when it's a full tank.
Looking really quick though, Hamilton. Both Mercedes, we know they've got race pace and they're using it right now. Russell on the softs, tucked in behind Leclerc and complaining about him. Hamilton here, tucked in behind the Aston Martin of Alonso, and Lewis will pick up DRS exiting Chapel Curve. And see if he can attack down to Stowe. He's bringing the Alpine of Gasly behind as well.
Okay, Lando, Oscar has been told to hold position. He's holding position. We go together.
So a bit of teamwork at McLaren going on right now. Logan Sargent, in the meantime, making a little move there. And yeah, so Sargent getting past Hulkenberg. That's further down the list. Here we are, back on board with Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, it's a great point you made, Julian. The fact that these two Mercedes drivers are split on tires, but clearly this car is working with both compounds right now. So that is a very good indication as we see Hamilton just trying, not quite close enough here. A little wide from Fernando. This is going to open the door if he can set him up out of turn 4.
That could work perfectly. Let's have a look as he comes out of the left-hander. He was out of slipstream too, so he still had decent downforce. He's in a good place now. DRS is open. Really good opportunity to get past Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton dives past and he has gained a place. He is up to 7th position. Still a lot of work to be done here. He's going chasing after Carlos Sainz.
So he's back to where he started, and he's back with these guys now. The two Ferraris and George Russell just leaving shot. There's a couple of seconds back to Lewis Hamilton now, and we'll see how quickly he can go and join the Ferrari of Sainz ahead. I think he's got tremendous pace, given how he was able to stick so closely behind Alonso in the dirty air.
Oh, just a little bit of a lock up there for Hulkenberg, and that's Perez going through. So Perez getting past. So he's up to 13th place now. So having started 15th, he's 13th. You'd think he would have gained a bit more by now.
Yeah, not as much progress as you'd like to see in that early stint. The first few laps, always the best time to do it. Great move here to get it done there because he would have already engaged DRS. A little bit of contact there with the front wing for Nico Hulkenberg. It doesn't appear to be damaged as we see Nick De Vries now. Oh!
Contact with Hulkenberg. So Hulkenberg in a big battle at the moment, isn't he? And he's come in. He's come straight into the pits.
So they're trying to deal with the front wing damage. You can see it there. The end plate completely broken then on the Haas. De Vries with a tentative look up the inside, and that was lucky. It wasn't bigger damage for him as well. And Hulkenberg's in. So another disaster opening laps for Haas, even though they tried to send him on the hard tyres to go long. Yeah. That's not worked out for Nico.
He wouldn't have planned to come in this early on the hard compound tyre, but he is in the pits right now. You're looking at the leaders.
Car's pulling a bit weird.
Yeah, wind is fairly variable, Max.
And that's a good point. The wind has been up and down a little bit today, and there's no doubt that can affect the feeling of the car.
You got to remember, these teams and cars spend so much time in the wind tunnel, but that's only looking at the wind going over the car from front to back. When you get a crosswind, you look at the profile of that race car, it is not very aerodynamic, and it can catch like a kite that wind. It can push it side to side on the straightaway. It can greatly affect the handling in the corners. So when Max talks about the car pulling, it's in a straight line. It feels like it's creeping one direction or the other. That could just be a crosswind physically pushing the car across the road. It's a weird feeling from inside the car.
Yeah, it's just unnerving really when you feel like there's another force that's acting on you rather than just you at the wheel. Russell pressuring Leclerc still a menace in his mirrors. Norris is still within a second of Verstappen. The McLarens are really rocking along nicely in second and third.
Yeah, it's impressive. Wind gusts up to 35 kilometers an hour, Russell being told, so that is having an effect. And Alonso, you know, the Aston Martin really isn't working so well here at Silverstone, as we've seen on many occasions. Plenty of podiums for Fernando Alonso this year, but he's struggling now to fight off Gasly. Meanwhile, we're on board with George Russell, who is closing up on the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc has a good record here at Silverstone over the years. George, not so much. He's got to score some points here at Silverstone. That would mean a lot to him, but he's fighting well, and this is a battle for fourth position at this stage. Up ahead, of course, the two McLarens are still that much further ahead.
Quite similar on pace at the moment, though, the McLarens to Leclerc. So Leclerc 3.5 seconds back, but not drifting any further away, even though he's got a mirrors full of George Russell.
And look, we are 9 laps into this race. Verstappen is only just over 1 second ahead of Lando Norris. He's been ahead for a few laps now. He has not pulled out.
Is that
the kind of gap we're used to seeing Verstappen pull out once he gets clean air, and it's coming down a little bit. Norris almost, there you go. Now he's back within DRS range.
Yeah, interesting that. Whether that's just Max managing the tyres or whether he's definitely struggling, that's a good question. We shall have to wait and see. They're both on the medium compound.
Well, Piastri still holds the fastest lap of the race from earlier on, so the McLarens they're rocking along really, really well. Russell right in the slipstream, and DRS of Leclerc has a little look to the inside, but not a big break into Stowe, so you've got to get further alongside before you can commit to a move.
Further down the order, we've still got Albon in 10th place, still potentially scoring a point here today, chased by Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon, Sergio Perez, very close to the back of Esteban Ocon, by the way, now. So you may see Perez getting past, and yeah, that does look like I think he's already through.
Ocon pitted. Ocon's off to the right-hand side there, and he's come in from a soft tyre start, so that'll be a bit of an undercut attempt there from Esteban Ocon to try and get the Alpine into the top 10. Right on board with Perez having a blend out of the throttle for the first corner, and his next target is going to be Lance Stroll for 11th place. Not making big inroads at the start, but also Verstappen. Oh, Ocon's got bigger trouble than that.
Esteban, we are retiring the car. We are boxing to retire the car. I'm very sorry.
That's 2 Silverstones in a row that he's had a non-finish. Before this, he's always been very consistent at scoring points here. Last year it was a late non-finish which caused a safety car. That hasn't happened on this occasion. Let's have another look at the Lewis Hamilton pass on Fernando.
Yeah, wasn't much point of Fernando trying to defend on that one. Lewis was so close behind him by the time DRS opened up. He could have gone around either side, so kind of making the smart move there. Fernando, a wily veteran, just thinking, all right, we'll let him take this one, try to get him back in the next zone. But the pace of the Mercedes definitely seems to be higher than that of the Aston Martin, as the British fans applaud their 4 drivers every time they go by and make a move.
Guys, Red Bull aren't rapid.
No.
They're not looking super quick. Verstappen and Norris are matching times. Norris was a couple of tenths quicker on the last lap. Perez is still 12th, and even in a clear space, he's not finding a huge amount more speed than Lance Stroll and Alex Albon ahead.
Okay, we're expecting some lightish rain in around 2 or 3 minutes. Will last 3 or 4 minutes, similar to Q2.
So the idea to that, if that is the case, they will stay out there on slicks. There's no point in coming in to switch.
Well, let's see within the next 5 minutes how many more radio transmissions we hear from other teams to drivers with completely different information like we had in qualifying. It'll be interesting to see because it's kind of in that window. But back to your point, Jolien, not only are they not, you know, is Red Bull not seem to have that pace, McLaren right there with them. With 2 drivers up there, they can really put the pressure on Max from a strategy standpoint. And this really helps their cause.
Especially if there's a bit of rain out there as well. It's not like Alonso and Monaco where it's one Aston Martin to try and get the best. They've got 2 McLarens and they can split if the rain comes down and you're questioning about inters, you're questioning about going to a hard tyre at what time. They're in a decent strategic position. This is much better than anyone thought for McLaren on race pace. Lando just dropped a couple of tenths on the last lap, but he's still 2.5 seconds back, still holding station pretty well.
Max Verstappen reporting that the tyre temperatures are pretty high on his car. Meanwhile, we just saw Sergio Perez a moment ago. He's definitely getting closer to the back of Lance Stroll. Fernando Alonso here still under attack from Pierre Gasly in the blue and pink Alpine. Pierre Gasly, who has had some strong runs here in the past. You can see the rain in the background. Whether it's actually going to hit the track or not, it's a bit hard to tell.
Yeah, it's not a job I would want right now, sitting on pit wall trying to figure out when the rain was coming. But you, like you said, man, you can see it in the background. It is in the area, absolutely. But this cloud cover and these cooler track temps, this definitely helps McLaren. They said that. They said they were helped out yesterday by the cooler temps, by the lower track temperatures. So as long as this cloud cover stays, now again, if the rain comes, that changes everything, certainly. But this has definitely put them in a stronger position than I think anybody was expecting.
Verstappen just eking out 4/10 again on the last lap, so he is just starting to stretch away now that the Lando's moved away from the DRS range. Here's the other Red Bull, Sergio Perez in 12th, up behind Lance Stroll.
Let's see how he can go on the attack now. The Aston Martin up ahead of him. Lance Stroll still has the benefit of DRS from the car up ahead of him. It's Alex Albon.
Yeah, we're tracking the rain, but it's going to miss us on the radar.
I want to be so sure about that. First drop from the visor.
Copy.
Yeah, how close to the track is it? When we saw that radar, it did look like the rain was just going to go to the side of the track, but who knows? You can see there again on the radar, it looks like it's going to just miss the track, but who knows? We've seen it before, just on one corner, it can make all the difference. So, in the meantime, Sergio Perez trying to put the pressure on Lance Stroll. Red Bull versus Aston Martin. The other Red Bull, of course, still controlling this race. We're on lap 12 out of 52, still plenty of time to go, and none of the front runners making a pit stop yet, not expected to as yet, but what we would expect to see is George Russell being the first of that group, because of course he's on the soft tyre, the others are on the medium, which should last longer.
But with rain around, they don't want to pit Russell in case that you're going to need another stop for intermediate, so they kind of want the rain to clear a little bit, disperse.
Here comes Perez. Perez is making the move on Lance Stroll, and it's a very easy move in the end. Lance didn't bother to try and fight that.
That was good for Perez, though, late on the brakes.
Can we make plan A work currently?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. For sure.
Plan A will be whatever their original plan for a number of stops, presumably.
Yes, I think so, for sure. I'm not entirely certain as to what, if he's agreeing or not.
Hey, he sounds like he's just in the engineer's room having a pretty chilled out conversation there. He's out there, second place, dropping a bit further away from Verstappen now, over 2 seconds down, and lost another half a second on the last lap. But he sounds cool as a cucumber, really. Lando Norris, pretty nonchalant. Yeah, let's give it a go.
We are seeing a few people run wide at Stowe Corner, turn 15, and having their lap times released. And of course, if you do it several times, then you may end up with a penalty, as we saw last week in Austria. So that's something to bear in mind. Lance Stroll's been over the white lines a couple of times already.
No one from the top 10, actually one for Alex Albon in 10th, but none of the major players yet have had a ping for track limits.
Okay, well, Fernando Alonso still protecting himself from Pierre Gasly, battling for 8th, 9th places. Behind them, just a little further back, is Alex Albon in the Williams. And, of course, everybody apart from Nico Hülkenberg is on the original tyres they started this race on. Hülkenberg, the only one to have switched. He's gone on to the medium compound, but everything going a bit wrong for him a few laps ago. He's down in 19th place, just the one out of the race. That's Esteban Ocon, sadly out of the race already. Alpine going through a little bit of a challenging time.
Witness making it difficult to drive at the moment.
Understood.
I'm sure that is understood, but it'll be the same for everyone. They've all got to cope with it, haven't they?
Yeah, they do. And right now he is sort of increasing that gap a little bit. So as the wind picks up, maybe conditions get a little bit more difficult. That might actually play into Max's hands. That car just so sorted, so strong. The McLaren still kind of finding its footing with this new update package, this upgraded package. And, you know, Lando's saying it's better in every way, it's faster. It's still a little tricky to get the lap time out of it, though. So if conditions get harder, that might actually play into Max's favor.
So let's have a look at how this is for George Russell, chasing down Charles Leclerc, as you've got this wonderful view on the camera just over the left front wing. And you can see how close he is to the Ferrari. Now, this is an ideal position, isn't it, Jolien, when you've got the quick corners coming up and then the key DRS zone.
Oh, big twitch from Russell, though, through Copse. That would have caught his attention. He wants to stay as close as he can to Leclerc because there's a DRS zone coming up, but you get the dirty air still, even with the generation of cars we've got now. You're losing downforce when you're this close behind, and that's just put Russell back another couple of car lengths. He can get the DRS, and he's got it open indeed right now, heading down towards the Hanger Straight and Stowe corner, but Leclerc won't have to worry too much after that one for Russell.
What a cool camera angle to be on, to have that moment at that corner at those sorts of speeds. I mean, like you say, that's a heart and throat moment in a Formula One car at those speeds.
Let's have another look from a different view, shall we?
Turned it in. Oh, that's just a little bit of track limits, that one for Russell. But it was, yeah, serious reactions at that speed for George.
His soft tyres are holding up pretty well, though, so far. Although they've done some 14 laps, or on lap 15 now, and he doesn't seem to be losing too much pace. Yes, he had that little flick then. Whether that was something to do with the tyres, I've no idea, but he's still holding on with Leclerc.
So, guys, just taking a look at that track limits situation, Lando Norris has had 2 track limits violations in the last few laps, 2 laps in a row. So that's not ideal. You know, he's only 1 away from getting the warning, 2 away from a penalty.
And his pace is dropping as well now, over 3 seconds down from Verstappen, and he got 6/10 on the last lap. So the early McLaren promise is just starting to dwindle away, and Verstappen's stretching his legs out front. He's similar pace to Leclerc and Russell behind. So McLaren now are dropping out of the lead contention just slightly, still enough to keep Verstappen and Red Bull on their toes with a bit of rain falling, but it's Leclerc and Russell that will be hoping now to come back towards those 2 McLarens.
A little bit of drizzle that Max mentioned on the radio. I'm sure that is a part of running wide as well. It makes it very difficult to get it absolutely right if you're just into an area where there's a tiny bit of drizzle. We're not seeing much on this camera. I'm not seeing rain hitting that camera. We're on board with Pierre Gasly, getting a little frustrated. He just cannot find that straight line speed he needs here, even with DRS available, to be able to make a move on Fernando Alonso on the latter part of the lap. And the gap has remained pretty much the same, so maybe it's going to come down more to the pit stops when these guys start making their pit stops. Alex Albon coming under some severe pressure now from Checo, from Sergio Perez in the other Red Bull, so there's a chance for Perez to start getting into the points, but what it will mean, of course, is Albon will be pushed outside the top 10, and that's going to hurt Williams because they've had a good car here all weekend, lost out on the opening lap, but they're not going to be able to hold off Perez for long, are they?
No, they absolutely are not. And, you know, Checo's running a bit of a different strategy there, running around. Oh, no, he's on the mediums as well. I took that back. I thought he was maybe starting on the hards. But either way, it's good to see him start to make that progress now, getting close to the points.
Yeah, Albon's never an easy pass, though. You can write off Williams, but they're good in the straight line, and we've seen it so many times where Albon can just hold position. Bit of rain on the lens down at Brooklands.
Yeah, good point. So there may still be some slippery bits that we're going to have to watch out for. Back on board with George Russell. Let's see how he goes through Copse this time. That looked neater, didn't it? It looked like he got it right.
He got it right. A lot of throttle, only a little bit of a lift there. He just tracks down Leclerc. He's hunting him. He's got so much more pace than him. He just cannot quite get the move done.
Soft tyres are a good option, don't they, for the Mercedes? 16 laps and still holding strong, even though George has been in the DRS range, and he looks closer here.
Yeah, he's in a good spot here. Is he going to be able to attack? Oh, Leclerc knows where he is. He goes a little defensive. George then tries to get the white line in, but Leclerc actually carries good speed through there. And this one's always a bit risky into the Vale. If you dive up the inside, you've got to make a very solid move, get it done. Otherwise, you can often get contact between 2 cars.
Perez has passed Albon more easily than I expected. Russell closer than he has been with Leclerc. And as soon as Leclerc starts to go defensive, then he compromises his line and loses speed, and that means George could stay closer through these parts as well. And with Leclerc just starting to fall into his clutches, this might be another chance for George on the soft.
Here's a look at how Sergio Perez got it done on Alex Albon. Maggots through Beckett, through Chapel, down the Hanger Straight, into Stowe. Can he get it done? Yeah, it just sort of drives by, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what's happening for him at the moment, isn't it? Nobody's fighting too hard, and I can understand that. They need to look after their own tyres, their own car, and their positions, but it does push Albon out of the points for now.
Nobody fights a Red Bull. They don't fight a Red Bull now. Their car's too dominant. For the lead of the race, Norris just waves Verstappen through. Albon, for a point, just waves Perez through. The car's too good, and with this many laps to go, you just think, if he doesn't pass me now, he'll pass me soon. I don't want to compromise my own pace.
And as Russell gets close to Leclerc here, Leclerc's had some, questionable-ish defensive tactics the last few laps. Some late moves, some sudden moves, some double moves, all that sort of thing. And as a driver, when you're in George Russell's position, it can get a little frustrating when a driver's kind of defending in that manner, and it tempts you to get a little bit sendy. And I could just see George getting to that point, because he's definitely got the pace on the Ferrari. He's making those softs last, but he really needs that clean air. He needs to try to close that gap up now to Oscar Piastri.
He's getting frustrated, I think, behind Leclerc, because he's got more pace, and now Leclerc is dropping back from Piastri, half a second a lap for the last couple of laps. The gap between those two now 4.5 seconds, and that's the podium that both Mercedes and Ferrari pretty much angling for in this Grand Prix. Hamilton's getting closer to Sainz as well, so we've got 4 cars running together, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Lewis, after clearing Fernando earlier on, spent a while just matching these guys for pace and lap time, and now he's just starting to wind it up and pressure Sainz a little bit more.
Well, what a time this is for Oscar Piastri. You're riding on board with the Australian driver, the youngest driver in Formula 1 at the moment, at 22 years and 3 months. And a fantastic qualifying performance and no mistakes so far. He's doing everything right. We know he's working with the team. They've told him, don't attack.
And we are thinking of plan B.
What was plan B, Ricky? I forgot. I mixed up.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Well, yeah, without perhaps it coming out on the radio that we get to know. But Carlos Sainz, being told there could be a change of plan, presumably to the original thought.
I gotta be honest, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often. I mean, how many radio transmissions do we hear when it's plan A, plan B, sometimes plan C, and when you're out there wheeling a Formula 1 car around a racetrack, especially one as challenging as this, it's very human and very normal to be like, hang on a minute, this is Silverstone last week. Wait, what's plan B again? I'm surprised we don't get it more.
Leclerc's being told to make a pit stop now, so Charles Leclerc coming in already from 4th position. So this will, of course, put Russell up into that 4th position. As long as he doesn't come into the pits, he is staying out there. And George has just done a very good final sector, personal best in the final sector. Let's see how quick George Russell can go on those soft tyres. Be interesting.
So Leclerc covering off an undercut threat from the Mercedes, and Russell was on the softs. Ferrari would have been very wary that they're going to come into the pits early, so they've brought in Charles, proactively defending it, 2.4 seconds, and will he emerge ahead of Logan Sargent? That's the gap that they're wanting to get it in. Sargent coming at high speed, but that's a great job from Ferrari. Leclerc out into free air, and that should protect him at this stage.
Yeah, should be in good shape. And very much that's a one-stop strategy by putting on the hard compound tyre. We would not expect him to be coming into the pits once again, so we'll just have to see how that goes. Meanwhile, you've got Pierre Gasly just up ahead there and trying to make it through, but whether this is going to change or not, I'm not sure. Pierre Gasly, you're riding on board with Pierre Gasly at the moment, in fact with Alonso. Yes, he's trying to get past Alonso, so this is the battle for 8th that's continuing, going on and on and on. Meanwhile, Hamilton now 1.5 seconds behind Carlos Sainz, and just trying to keep an eye on Russell's times. He's not actually done, he's done a personal best in his middle sector, so those soft tyres are still holding out reasonably well.
So Ferrari pit. I guess we just stick to our strategy.
Yes, no concern for the moment, Max.
Based on where Max is on track and where Charles was on track when he pit, Max is catching this from a big screen. He's out there watching the race on TV right now.
Yep, that's exactly it. He's seeing on the big screen what we're all seeing as well, Leclerc pitting, and he's just questioning the strategy, making sure that they're all aligned on what they want to do at Red Bull. Of course, he's not too fussed about Leclerc. Leclerc was in 4th place. He's more worried about Lando Norris, still just 4 seconds back, but just wants to keep on their toes, and he's just done the fastest lap with that radio message as well. So as he was watching the big screen, he was bumping in the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a couple of tenths clear of Norris, who does a personal best, and Russell also, now he's unleashed from Leclerc, does a personal best, but 3 tenths slower than Lando Norris, matching Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, meanwhile Hamilton's doing the same sort of lap time as Carlos Sainz, but not really getting quite close enough yet to be able to use the DRS and get past the Ferrari. Meanwhile, Leclerc having put those new hard tyres on, and we shall see how he manages to move back up the order as well as others come into the pits. If Russell pits now, you can see the prediction would be that he would still come out behind Charles Leclerc.
Lando, how many laps can we do at this pace?
I'm happy. He's consistent. I can maintain this for now.
Understood.
It's quite a question to ask a driver, isn't it, when the team's got all the technology and all the data coming in. Just having a look at George Russell here as well.
It's really tricky to know for the driver. You're thinking, well, it feels okay for now, but I never know when you're going to overheat and when it drops away. Lando's done another lap that's pretty strong, but half a second away from Verstappen, who's done another fastest lap. So Max, now we're getting towards the pit stop phase, unleashing a bit more potential from the Red Bull. Norris and Piastri both running near their best laps of the Grand Prix, but it's not near the Red Bull now that Max has just turned up the wick a little bit And McLaren have got to think about Leclerc, because he was fourth, he was the nearest threat to both Norris and Piastri in their double podium at the moment. And on new hard tyres, he's done a personal best, but it's not as quick as either McLaren. So until Leclerc starts to find more pace on the new hards, they don't need to cover him off at this stage. This is working nicely still for McLaren, and Leclerc is just doing enough, just about, to hold Russell at bay.
I was going to say that last lap, they were pretty much dead even to the same tenth. So even the new hards not having an advantage over George Russell with those used softs. So Russell doing a great job right now keeping those tires underneath him.
I tell you what, Oscar Piastri's doing a great job as well. You know, we all know how strong Lando Norris is in Formula One. The fact that he's qualified so close to him and in the race, he's very much staying at the same sort of distance behind him. He doesn't want to be immediately behind him because then he's losing downforce and scrubbing the tyres. But he's doing a good job. He's not dropping back.
Tremendous, absolutely tremendous at the moment for a rookie, up against Lando Norris in that car, and they're running 2 and 3, and he looks very, very established in that position for now as well. And all three of the top three were in the same shot there, flying down the hangar straight.
On board with Lewis Hamilton, a man who's had so many victories here at Silverstone in the past, but it's proving to be a bit of a tougher one. He is 1.6 or 1.3 now, actually. He's caught up a little bit. He is catching to Sainz on this lap, so there is a chance that he's going to be within DRS zone on the next lap if he can just close that gap a tiny bit more as the tyres are beginning to wear away. Are they wearing away more on the Ferrari than on the Mercedes? Perhaps that's something we're going to find out. 22 laps we're on now out of 52. We're not quite at half distance yet, and not many pit stops having been made so far.
Not sure about the Ferrari strategy for Leclerc. He's not able to find a huge amount of pace on those new hards. He's got to take them a really long way to go in the race if they're trying to one stop still. And he's only at the same pace as Russell, a little bit slower than Hamilton, and he's not gaining anything on the McLarens. And what's even worse for him, he's 12th position. He's going to go up to traffic very shortly as well, which will slow him down. So Russell's got a chance to even overcut Leclerc because Charles not found a load of pace on the new tyre.
That's interesting. Meanwhile, Perez is really not making much more progress at the moment. We saw him get past Alex Albon a little while ago, but the gap to Pierre Gasly, who's still fighting with Alonso, the two of them have been within a second of each other for a long time. Perez not getting that close to those two.
He's a full pit stop away from Lando Norris now as well. So Checo flew through to a podium last time out in Austria, but he's not made the same progress this time.
Well, as you said, Joe, and as you predicted, if Russell does stop now, likelihood is he's going to come out ahead of Leclerc because of the pace that Leclerc is doing right now. It's just not coming together for him.
But they don't need to stop him because Leclerc's going to go slower in a minute when he catches Lance Stroll as well.
Well, I was just going to say that's just going to continue to grow once Leclerc gets to the back of that train there. And I mean, the way that Russell was able to make these softs last, you got to think the mediums are going to be quite good too. Could you one-stop this softs to mediums?
Everyone will be thinking that. We're getting towards half distance. Russell's on the soft. He's nearly done half the race on the soft. That's exactly what you can do, I think, especially on the Mercedes, which is maybe a little bit kinder on its tyres than the Ferrari, although Sainz has just done a personal best lap of the race. This is not working out for Leclerc at all.
Yeah, I mean, coming in, the predictions were a soft, medium, soft two-stopper being the preferred strategy, but I don't see it. I think it's now gone to a one-stop, soft, medium, and so yeah, Leclerc being on the hard even still. I wonder if they could have gotten away with putting him on the medium even at that point. I know he pit on the early side, but with the degradation we're seeing, the hard almost seems unnecessary.
It is a very good point, and whether this is going to hurt Leclerc even more later in the race, we shall have to wait and see. Meanwhile, can Hamilton get within that DRS zone? He's not quite there. 1.099. Remember, he needs to be just under 1 second so that the DRS flap on the back of the car opens up and gives him more straight line speed and enables a potential overtaking move, but he's not there yet. He's 1.2 seconds, and this is the straight where it will operate. One of the straights. It's not in play just yet.
So the Mercedes are leaping the Ferraris right now. Russell, if he pits, would be clear of Leclerc on those soft tyres that are hanging on. Leclerc, he had to go really for the hard tyres pitting when he did, because he's got to use two different compounds of tyre, and he started on the mediums. And he basically was trying to keep track position over Russell and didn't quite have the pace. So they were wary that if Russell pitted, they'd be undercut. If Leclerc pits, they're going to be overcut, and they're in a bit of a tricky spot. The other one now is Sainz, who's got his concentration on Lewis Hamilton here behind. Sainz using loads of road coming through turn 3, maximising the track width. Hamilton a little bit tighter, would look for a better exit as he's tighter again coming out of turn 4, putting the pressure on.
Further down the field, outside the top 10, you've still got Lance Stroll ahead of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc is getting that bit closer now, as you said, though. Sargent behind, then Nick de Vries. He hasn't scored any points this year, not looking very likely that he will. The two Alfa Romeos, Zhou Guanyu and Valtteri Bottas, down in 15th and 16th places. They're not looking in great shape, nor are the two Haas cars, I'm afraid. Kevin Magnussen, 17th, Nico Hulkenberg down in 19th place. The other Alpha Tauri of Yuki Tsunoda down in 18th position. Just the one car out of this race. Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. Everybody else is still running as we're getting closer to the half-distance mark in the British Grand Prix. So the current gap, 19.2 seconds between George Russell and Charles Leclerc, with a pit stop normally being around 21 seconds here, I think the time lost, so it is going to be pretty close between them.
Yeah, about 20 seconds, I think he can get it done. So he's right in that window. And like Jolene said, it's really just not coming together. I think Leclerc probably was hoping they were going to sell Mercedes into coming in the next lap because George was on the softs, but it just hasn't played out that way. Now you see him, he's up onto the back of Lance Stroll there, and we've seen how tough it is to get by an Aston Martin with Fernando Alonso.
Okay, Lando, how many laps can we do with this pace? How many laps at this pace?
I'm happy it's consistent, but it's not changing until I say so.
It's quite an interesting discussion going on between Lando and his engineer, isn't it?
It is, but it's a tough one because, you know, as a driver, you could be going along, everything's just fine, but sometimes you can just hit that cliff. And so it doesn't, you know, it doesn't always make sense to ask the driver that question. One lap you could say, yeah, I could do this 5 more laps, but then all of a sudden the grip can disappear, the balance can go away, you could be losing half a second.
Yeah, you just asking what the current grip level's like. Sometimes you're doing the same pace, but you're starting to feel the tyres go away and oversteering slightly more or struggling more in certain corners, and that's the writing on the wall for the start of the drop. But Lando seems like he's pretty comfortable right now. The tyres are consistent, and the pace shows it still. He's within 0.2 of his best lap of the Grand Prix.
Let's have a look at Charles Leclerc. He's got a good chance of making a move on Lance Stroll. Not just yet, because he's got the next tricky section to go through where you're following a car, losing some of your downforce. So watch the throttle movement on the right still, a touch on the brakes. But coming out of this section is so important because he's in the DRS zone now and he's got a real chance to make the pass.
He's got to clear Stroll as soon as possible. We're in the slipstream, we've got the DRS open, and Stroll is going to be passed up the inside for Leclerc. Nice move. And he didn't lose too much time with that at all, so that's a critical one there for Charles.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty decent lap because he had that DRS advantage dragging him down the straightaway, so that's going to help close that gap because it's still just hovering right at that margin of about 20 seconds to George Russell.
Yeah, that's right. He had to get it done quickly. He has done so. The next one he's going to be chasing after is Alex Albon. He is in 11th place at the moment, but as we know, when the pit stops are made further up the order, it's really that fight with George Russell currently in 4th place. Right now, McLaren are looking so good. 2nd and 3rd. Can they really achieve a double podium finish here today?
Well, they've got strategic options because Leclerc pitting early is no threat at this stage. Russell is 5 seconds back, so as soon as George Russell pits to try and leapfrog Charles Leclerc, McLaren can kind of pit both of their cars and cover off the podium spots, 2nd and 3rd. The good news for them is Sergio Perez isn't a factor right now, and you'd expect maybe a charging Red Bull to be a thing later on. But Checo's still there in 9th behind Pierre Gasly, and there's a DRS train there for Checo. He's actually not in the DRS, so he's actually just Gasly behind Alonso, but he knows he won't have huge straight line speed, so he's just holding back now, and I assume Checo is trying to keep his tyres alive to go for a longer run once those ahead pit.
So yeah, Carlos Sainz being brought into the pits on this lap as well. Currently in 5th position. He's been chasing after George Russell since the start of this race. George making that slightly better start.
So this is to try and come out ahead of Sargent as well. Sainz with a little lock up as he gets down to the pit lane speed limiter.
And then laying some black rubber marks, getting back on the throttle to get back up to that speed. He would have overslowed to make sure he wasn't caught for speeding.
Man who won here last year. He's taken his only ever Grand Prix victory here at Silverstone from the pole position that he had last year. So you can see the brand new set of hard compound tyres. So we thought they might use mediums, but no, they've gone for the hard tyre. So whatever Leclerc's doing has given Ferrari the confidence to put the hard tyre on, I suppose.
Well, it's a safer option to get to the end of the race. And again, Ferrari are covering off Hamilton there with Sainz. So because they just opened up the window, there's Logan Sargent. So they're trying to get to themselves to a position where they can pit, take 20 seconds of pit stop loss and come out ahead of Sargent, because then you're protecting from an undercut. They don't want Mercedes to call the shots. have free air for a lap and punch in a couple of quick times and lose track positions. They're proactively trying to defend by pitting early. The Mercedes duo carry on. Russell 29 laps on the soft, so that shows what they can do. But maybe Ferrari don't think that their car necessarily will be as kind on their tyres as the Mercedes is today.
Just to explain, the reason Russell's done 29 laps is because they did 3 laps in qualifying, so they were a used set of soft tyres. That's why, even though they're all on lap 28 now.
How are the hard tyres looking on others?
Hard side doesn't look amazing, but it's our best option.
No, that's a bit of a vague response, but he's still sounding very calm. As you said earlier, when he's chatting, he's driving at such a high limit, but he's just discussing with the engineer what they need to do.
I'm liking the soft tyre option. It would have to be a used soft tyre, but Russell's showing that it's a decent tyre at the moment, still hanging on, still with decent pace, and he was harrying the back of Leclerc for all those laps earlier on, and still is going longer and longer. So the Mercedes, surely Hamilton's going to be pitting for a set of softs rather than go for a hard tyre. There's quite a big difference in lap time gain between the soft and the hard. The soft will degrade more throughout the stint, and the tyres will close up. But I'm surprised that McLaren's still going past half distance now.
Yeah,
they're not thinking about trying to eke it out towards the soft.
It does seem strange, and to be on over half distance with Russell as well. His last lap, George Russell, 33.0, a little slower than those around him. Most of them are in the 1:32s at the moment, so I do wonder whether we're going to see Russell in pretty soon now.
Yeah, I mean, to Lando's radio message, it is consistent. I mean, you almost think the timing screen's broken. He's just knocking out 132.7s religiously, which is only 2/10 off of his best time. So if they can just keep that pace up for a little while longer, there shouldn't be any concerns to throw the soft on.
John, you've looked at tyres many times over the years. Silverstone is tough on them, but they're looking very, very smooth.
Yeah, no obvious signs of wear there. No blistering or anything on the outside front, the left front that takes most of the load. Russell will pit then from 4th position off the soft tyres finally, having done 29 laps of a Grand Prix and a couple of flyers, or a flyer yesterday. In he comes. Where's he going to come out in relation to Charles Leclerc? That's the big question.
That is the big question. Is he going to be able to come back out in front of Charles Leclerc, who he was battling with earlier on in this race? Mercedes need to put together a decent pit stop here. And it's a set of mediums. It's not the best pit stop, though. 3.9 seconds. Ouch. So let's see where he comes out. You're looking at the map on top right as well to see where Leclerc is. Leclerc's going to be in front. Leclerc's going to be ahead. There he is, just going through the shot, and Russell comes out behind.
Ahead of Stroll, though, just.
Only just. It didn't look like he had enough anyway. I think once Leclerc got around Stroll, he was able to knock out a couple quick laps and bring that gap just down a little bit. But remember how much newer the tires are going to be on George Russell now. He can go attack Leclerc.
So 1.5 seconds would have been pretty close between the two of them. It's 1.8 seconds as they're down the Wellington straight here, so it would have been marginal. But that's the difference. The Ferrari stop to the Mercedes guys, and Russell then behind Leclerc, but on a compound softer tyre to the end of the race and a much fresher tyre. Russell was already quicker in the first part. That is going to be a battle that will rage to the end of the Grand Prix for Charles Leclerc. In a net 4th position, Hamilton stays out, and Piastri, as soon as those guys behind pit, McLaren can pit, and that's what they're going to do right now with Oscar Piastri first.
Interesting that Perez made a pit and has gone onto the soft tyre for the next part of the race, so we may well see Perez make some ground, but I can't see him getting close enough to be fighting for a podium finish here. In comes Oscar Piastri. This has been his best Grand Prix to date. Let's see whether it's all going to come together for him. Is there a chance for him to take his first ever podium finish in what is only his 10th Grand Prix? Let's listen to Perez.
Okay, we need to get that undercut on Gasly here.
So a good stop for Piastri, 2.4 seconds, much better than the Mercedes stop we saw a moment ago. He comes back out, and now there's every chance to go for it.
He's come back out on hards. Where we saw Checo Perez was on softs. He's done a pit stop now, and that's when they talked about doing the undercut.
Yeah, conservative for McLaren then. They said before they thought there was their best chance, and they've stuck to their word.
Sainz on Stroll, he's got the fresher tyres on. There's an opportunity here for Carlos Sainz. This should be pretty easy. He's got DRS, and this is going to be a straightforward pass. Carlos Sainz goes back up into the top 10 now, but still down in 10th place.
Hamilton's just unleashed pace in 4th position. He's done his best lap of the race, and he's actually the fastest man of those top guys that haven't stopped. He's just matched Verstappen's best pace. So having just bided his time in the first stint. All of those guys now, the 2 Ferraris and his teammate, are pitted. Here's George's slower stop.
Yeah, let's see if we can spot where the delay was. Front right, a bit slow coming off.
Yeah, it didn't come off cleanly, and second and a half. It doesn't feel like much when you're watching it like that, but it was enough that they couldn't fight, but they're fighting again now.
Yeah, look how close he is already to the back of Charles Leclerc. If Hamilton pits now, the prediction is saying that he would come out very close to Carlos Sainz. And I wonder if he's going to go for the soft tyre. Is he kind of on a reverse of what they've done with George Russell, who started on soft, gone to medium? I wonder if Lewis is effectively on a reverse version of that.
That's what they're going to do. Sainz is flying. He's just done the fastest lap of the race on his new hard tyres, so that's not going to be an overcut chance for Hamilton, even though he's upped his pace. But he is going to be quick at the end of the Grand Prix, and the longer he stays out, the more you can take benefit of a safety car. Remember, that can happen, and you have a reduced pit stop time, so he might as well stay out. He's had no threat from behind. It's Fernando Alonso, 7.5 seconds. And then you've got to look out for Sergio Perez, who's just taken that fastest lap in the Red Bull. So he has definitely undercut Gasly, and he's definitely undercut Alonso.
This is a chance for George Russell. He's right in the DRS zone. Leclerc's going to go defensive to the inside. It's always a tricky one to go around the outside, but he is putting the attack on, and now he goes around the outside into Luffield. George Russell, beautiful move. He gets past Charles Leclerc. Perfectly done.
What a move. What a move, George. I imagine he's on the radio right now telling the team how great it was, but it was that one was pretty honest. As Leclerc tries to fight back now into Stowe, not going to happen there. But man, that was a brilliant setup.
Beautiful stuff. More grip for Russell on the new medium tyres. Leclerc saw him coming, defended the inside. Russell looked to the outside, and then I think Leclerc was so ready for the attack into Copse that he just waited on the apex of Luffield, and George sent it all the way around the outside. Lovely stuff.
Piastri on the outside of Gasly now into Stowe, trying to make up some ground after his stop, get into that clean air as you see Gasly peeling off into pit lane.
And Piastri's putting some good laps together, and don't forget, we'll have to see where he versus Norris are when Norris has made his pit stop, where he hasn't made his pit stop yet. Gasly into the pits, as you say. We'll see where he comes back out into all of this. Lance Stroll is currently in as well.
Piastri could undercut Norris here, which would be an awkward one for McLaren. I'm sure they'll think about swapping them round again if they do that, but Norris stayed out. Piastri was 1.2 seconds quicker on the last lap. He was about 3 seconds back, so any level of hesitation on the pit stop if Norris pits this time around, and Piastri is going to be ahead of him into second position.
That's going to be interesting. Stroll in. It was a good stop for Gasly, 2.3 seconds. That was pretty good from Aston, yeah, 2.3. They've actually done a really good job on their pit stops, and that's very competitive. It's Mercedes today that certainly didn't have the great one with George Russell, but it's not slowing him down too much. Russell is still on excellent form. We'll just have to see how it works out, and particularly compared to Lewis Hamilton, who's still lapping reasonably quickly on those tyres that he's on, and hasn't made his pit stop yet. So Hamilton currently up in third place, but due to make a pit stop at some stage. And the Haas in trouble there. The Haas, that's Magnussen. Oh, and there's a fire off the back. Kevin Magnussen's car, it stopped yesterday in qualifying, and now it's stopped in the race.
So here's your safety car, and this is pit stop time for the top 3, top 4 even.
Engine died.
So Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, Alonso, they can all make pit stops that will save them some 9 seconds by stopping under virtual safety car or safety car, or actually under virtual safety car.
This is going to really help Lewis Hamilton. It wasn't looking so great for him. It looked like he would have come out behind both the Ferraris had he pit just then, but we're hearing Charles Leclerc is also in the pits.
Interesting, yes, that Charles Leclerc, presumably you're going to put the softs on at this stage, are you?
That's an odd strategy for Leclerc. It's still going to be costing him some track time and track position to those behind as well. Sainz is going to jump ahead at the very least.
Norris being told to come into the pits, no surprise there because he hasn't made his pit stop yet. Oh, Albon, who's just in front of him.
It's an unsafe release that from Ferrari. There is, I don't think there's much doubt about that. It came right into the path of Alex Albon. That was so tight.
So this is all going to be very interesting. They come out just behind Sergio Perez, and so Perez stopped earlier on. This is an opportunity that Perez will have made a few places. Hamilton being told to stop, but this, as you said, is going to be a good time for Hamilton.
It's the only thing they can do here is pit when you've got to reduce time. I am not sure if the marshals can easily remove that car from where it is. I can't think of where the marshal's post is on the inside there to collect the car of Magnussen.
That is a tricky one, and in fact we've gone, as you say, full safety car, so that means the marshals are going to have to be out there So we're going full safety car, which will bring the whole group of cars together, and it's going to give us a fascinating latter part to the race. It's going to change the order because of some of these pit stops being made under safety car. You're then going to get a stream of cars all together.
What tyres do you go for then? In peels Lando Norris, Verstappen's in as well. Surely the soft tyre is the only option for these guys, and Piastri might just be left a little bit hung out to dry on his hard tyres, and the top guys are going to have a reduced pit stop time.
Soft tires for the Red Bull there. I think, yeah, just to you said, I don't know how else you can play this, but no, there's hards going on the McLaren.
Oh, that's a big call for McLaren. New hards over a scrub set of softs, but not that many laps to go. We're under full safety car. There's 18 to go. There might be 15 when we get racing. It's a big call there for McLaren. They're not going to warm up very well at the end of the safety car period.
See what Hamilton does.
2.2 seconds. I was just going to say that was a very quick stop, but as you say, it's a surprise. Let's see what he does. I think he's soft. Yeah, so that's what we thought, a reverse of what Russell did.
It's racy and I like it.
Yeah.
I really like that. And Ferrari getting ready now with Sainz as well, who's going to go onto a soft, I think.
Still a poor, not a great stop, 3.2, better than Russell's, but Mercedes are not on it as well.
And he's ahead of Piastri.
Wow.
Hamilton is ahead of Oscar Piastri, so he's leapt up into a net top 3, and he's on soft tyres.
Again, we don't have a proper safety car restart. He's on the soft tires behind Lando, who's on hards. I mean, Lando's now very exposed here.
I'm surprised that they didn't pit for soft tyres on Norris and Piastri before, but Piastri had margin. He's very unlucky, Oscar Piastri, pitting before the safety car. He's done everything right today, and now he's out of the top 3.
The positions on the tire they are in. Quickly, Ricky, quickly.
3 positions, losing 3 positions.
To who on the tire? To who on the tire?
Checo, Charles, 16 racing lap on soft, and Albon, 3 cars.
Your call. Up to you.
Stay out.
So that's on the last lap, and Sainz, ever the thinking driver, is negotiating the strategy. He wants all the information, and he's collated it, and he basically didn't have an opinion either way. So he stayed out on a hard tyre that's pretty new because he had only just pitted as well. Didn't benefit from pitting on a safety car. He's got Perez now right behind him. So Checo, 8th place on a soft tyre as well, so that'll be racy. Alonso's gained by pitting under the safety car, the same as Hamilton, so he's leapt up to 6th. And that Haas looks like he's going to take another couple of laps to clear at the very least. The Marshall's now just wheeling it off there. But we're going to have a juicy restart.
The Marshall's always doing a fabulous job here at Silverstone, helping out. Let's just see what happened with Kevin. I think it wasn't much he could do. It just suddenly gave up on him. You can see there's the smoke pouring out, no power. He pulls over, does the sensible thing, and stops it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, well, it's on fire. You really don't want to be just dragging that around, and exactly just brings it offline, and smoky end to his running. Second failure in 2 days for Kevin Magnussen. Not having much luck at the moment.
Apparently this is one of the power units from earlier in the year that had already done quite a lot of miles that they put in after the problem yesterday, so I suppose it's not a huge surprise. This is the onboard view. Have a listen. Yeah, just passes away for him, and that's the end of the day for Kevin Magnussen. It's not a good day for Haas in general. Hulkenberg is still going, but he's right down at the back of the field. But the Marshalls have got that car moved, and hopefully we will be back to racing pretty soon. You can see where it's actually, you can still see the smoke coming from it, in fact. So it might take another lap or two before we get this into a perfectly safe situation. But yes, well done to all the Marshals. Just wanted to mention actually a Marshal I know, Maurice Bennington, who's had his 40th Grand Prix as a Marshal this weekend. Well done to him for being such an incredible part of the team.
Car ahead is Piastri, ahead of him is Lewis.
Is Lewis boxed?
Yeah, he had stayed out, but he did just box.
All right.
Well, it happens. Russell has had a couple of races like that where the pit stop has worked out for him. It's just the luck of the game, really, isn't it? About when you get a pit stop under a safety car and you get to gain several places.
That was the benefit of staying out for Hamilton. He had nothing to lose by doing it, had no pressure from behind. You take your chances, and chance has fallen his way, and it could yet get better for him with those soft tyres on board a Mercedes that has really good race pace. So Norris is going to have to stay sharp on this restart. Hard tyres sandwiched between two drivers on the softs, and then he's got his teammate in 4th. Piastri's going to have the same dilemma.
But if you look at the last 2 Grand Prix, this guy here, Lando Norris, has been by far the raciest, one of the best at getting some passes done. And I think in this case, it's going to be more on the defensive side, but I like his odds of, you know, putting up a solid fight. But man, I don't know, hards against softs on a restart like this, it is going to be a challenge, especially when it's Lewis Hamilton behind you.
It's those first few corners that are going to be crucial. The new hards and the used softs, maybe in terms of peak performance, there's not so much in it, and the hards are a really safe way to try and get your way to the end of the race. But with this many laps left, the softs are going to be fine as well, and Hamilton can just push. It's only McLaren that are on hard tyres.
This is Piastri's family watching, and they must be feeling a little bit, oh, poor Oscar, because he's now out of the top 3 when it looked like he was definitely on target for podium. It's not over, of course. Let's see what happens because of the battle going on up ahead of him, but he's also going to have to watch his mirrors because George Russell is going to be chasing him.
Yeah, only McLaren on hards and Sainz who stayed out, and it was locked into that. So Sainz pitted earlier, of course, than the 2 McLarens as well. So that's a big call from the McLaren pit wall, from a brilliant position earlier on, 2nd and 3rd. They're now 2nd and 4th. That was outside of their hands with the timing of the safety car. But what was in their hands is their tyre choice, and that's different to the rest of the field. Alonso as well pitted for softs. This is a replay of the superb move from George Russell, lap 31.
This is perfectly done. It just shows how well he knows Silverstone.
Yeah, that's just the classic over-under. Here's the radio.
Nice job, Buffalo girls.
Gonna have to do some investigative journalism to what that means later, but either way, good job is absolutely right. Just rolling the speed around the outside. Look at that. It looks beautiful.
Put a lot of faith in Leclerc as well, how close he was as he turned into Luffer with the Ferrari on the inside. Is that Cockney rhyming slang? I don't think it is. It's nothing that I know.
Buffalo girls do it round the outside. That's what he's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. And we've got the Haas car now being picked up, thankfully. So that car will be moved out of the way pretty quickly. So we will be going back racing soon. It won't be for another lap or 2, I wouldn't have thought. Still a bit of cloud around, but no sign of any more rain falling just yet. But we have got an incredible latter part of this race. It reminds me a little bit of last year, of course, because we had a late safety car last year, and Charles Leclerc, who was leading the race at that time, he missed out because of the pit strategy then. They left him out on used tyres, and most of the others put new tyres on. Carlos Sainz came through to take the victory. It's not quite the same story here because Verstappen has switched tyres, so he should be in safe form. We could be seeing some good racing.
What tyres does the Mercedes have on?
Hamilton behind you have pitted a used soft, saying that Verstappen ahead of you.
Yeah, wonderful, huh?
They've not learned. McLaren, I don't think they learned from that. And as you say, it's not the same because they're at least a brand new hard for Norris, but he's going to be worried. He's got a 7-time world champ behind him. He's driven a superb Grand Prix so far, but now the parameters have changed. He's got a Mercedes behind on a much fresher tyre.
Just zooming in on that start that Lando Norris made, that was a brilliant start from 2nd place to snatch the lead from Max Verstappen, and Piastri almost following him through. And look at the response down in the McLaren garage. That was also fantastic. Then Max Verstappen was able to make the pass on lap number 5, a fairly straightforward pass, and Red Bull were able to celebrate that move. But we could see some more battles going on when we get this race restarted.
Verstappen will be delighted that the man behind him's on a hard tyre as well. No pressure on him. Race leader in the fastest car, the man that's done a sublime job once again this weekend and today. And the car behind is a McLaren that's pretty good, but it's on hard tyres. So that will give Verstappen a nice chance to make a jump on the restart.
Yeah, but Lando will be nervous about the fact that Lewis Hamilton is behind him on the soft tyres, you said. George Russell, he's currently in 5th place behind Oscar Piastri with Fernando Alonso behind him. And that's going to be another very interesting battle because Alonso's on the soft, George is on the medium. And the big losers through all of this are Ferrari, really, because Sainz down in 7th place, Charles Leclerc, who qualified 4th, all the way down in 10th position.
Opted for the medium as well, new medium for Leclerc, and that was a 2nd pit stop. So he's the one man in the field in the front 15 that's made 2 stops. Everyone else just with 1, and they either pitted before the safety car or they pitted at the safety car, and they didn't do both. Leclerc has done that. He's got some overtaking to do now. Sainz in 7th, also lost out. Alonso and Hamilton left ahead of him.
Like Albon back in the points. Great to see Williams up there, and we know it can be tough to get by him unless you're in a Red Bull, as Checo proved earlier. So let's see what he's able to do on this restart.
Yeah, he benefited as well, pitting under safety car, Alex Albon. Soft tyres for him.
Yeah, that could be interesting for them to get some points. Charles Leclerc down in 10th place, so who's not looking good for points at the moment? You've got Gasly down in 11th, Stroll 12th, Logan Sargent's in 13th, which is actually, you know, that's not bad for him, but whether he's going to be able to make any moves from there, I rather doubt. The 2 cars out, of course, Kevin Magnussen's car, which is still being rescued, and Esteban Ocon, that was an earlier retirement. Max Verstappen in control.
And we are status 4 till the end.
Yeah, I will push, guys.
He will push, says Carlos. He's going to be behind Fernando Alonso, though. These two, they are good mates, but they have had some good hard races over the years. We shall see how the 2 Spanish drivers do manage to deal with it.
Status 4, is that an engine mode? Sounds like a pushy engine mode.
I think it's just code for just push. You're flat out. There's no worry about the tyres. Just send it now to the end for Carlos.
So Verstappen, Norris, Hamilton, our current top 3. Are we going to finish with that as our podium celebrators, or are we going to get a different mix? Piastri in 4th place. George Russell, who has never scored points at Silverstone in the British Grand Prix. He's had success in other races here in the past. Can he move back up? The safety car is ending at the end of this lap. So now we are building up, guys. We're building up towards going racing again and getting those tyres at the right temperature, but we've got completely different compound tyres in that lead group. Soft tyre on the first car, hard tyres on the second car, soft on the third of Hamilton, medium compound tyres on George Russell, and then soft for Fernando Alonso, so a real mix.
Yeah, watch out for Fernando Alonso. He's been quiet so far in this Grand Prix, but on the soft tyres at the end of this one, he's going to be sniffing around, maybe for a podium as well in the Aston Martin. Loves wheel-to-wheel action, and he's about to be thrust into some.
They laughed at me on the grid when I said an Alonso podium. I said Verstappen, Hamilton, Alonso. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility.
You're absolutely right. I thought we might see a Ferrari on the podium. I was completely wrong. Down in 7th and 10th places. Safety car coming in on this lap, and Max Verstappen will be in control, of course, of the pace once the safety car dives in. But Lando Norris, I think, more than focusing on Verstappen ahead of him, he's going to be much more focused on Lewis Hamilton behind him.
Yeah, he didn't put up much fight with Max once he had the lead earlier on, and I think, as you say, he's going to be so focused on keeping Hamilton behind that Max should have an easy run on it. We're looking back from the lead car now. When's he going to jump?
We've got 3 British drivers in the top 5 places, and they all want to finish on the podium at their home British Grand Prix. Max Verstappen launches as we get the race back underway, and behind Lando Norris, not too worried about the fact that Max has disappeared. What he's got to do from his point of view is defend from Lewis Hamilton, who is right behind him, and you can see Sergio Perez now putting some pressure on Carlos Sainz.
Hamilton is close to Norris, Perez is close to Sainz, and this is the hard tyres not firing up. Second place is Norris. Here they go, flashing through. Hamilton is right with him, and we're going to have a big braking zone after this corner.
Yeah, carry on.
You say the only benefit that Norris has right now is DRS still not enabled. First lap after the safety car, so it's all about getting a good exit right here out of turn 4. But man, Hamilton is close.
He's got so much more grip.
Is there a chance? As you say, DRS not in play yet. Lando Norris going defensive immediately, goes to the inside over the dust that has been put down for any oil that was put down, and he's trying to go around the outside, but Lando brakes late enough. Now, can he do what George Russell did? Go around the outside through Luffield corner. He can't quite do it. Lando Norris holds him off.
With every corner, Norris's chances improve on that hard tyre. It will fire up and it will find some grip, but still Lewis is here. Down towards Cobb, so we're going to see him move again.
Into Cobb's corner, he goes in on a wider line. The tighter line for Lando is difficult, but actually didn't lose much time by doing that.
Hamilton was cautious, had a downshift in Copse as well, nearly actually took over the apex curb, so lost a bit of momentum having got Lando offline. He'll get another chance in a minute, but Norris has got slight reprieve through those corners. Perez still behind Sainz as well.
Interestingly, Piastri was further back, I think, on the restart than that, and he's actually quite close again to them. Piastri from Russell, from Alonso, but Lando Norris fending off Lewis Hamilton as he's got these hard tyres now beginning to come up to proper temperature. So that was an absolutely crucial lap from him.
Yeah, big defence from Norris. He did very well on the hard that didn't have the temperature. Hamilton, that was maybe his best chance for the moment as they start another lap. Still so close though.
Max just pumping out the fastest lap of the race, and already a 2-second gap after just one tour since the safety car ended. That is the kind of dominance we're used to seeing from Red Bull. And still one more lap before DRS is enabled.
Yeah, good point.
So Hamilton doesn't quite have that advantage this time again, but immediately defensive from Norris. I don't think he needs to on this one. Hamilton not quite as close.
That's absolutely true, and no doubt they will be thinking ahead to the DRS opening up on the next lap. That was a late break from Lewis Hamilton.
He's looking at the inside.
He's got a chance. Oh, he's got a chance. Lewis Hamilton alongside Lando Norris. Now they're going to be running side by side through the Kink and Woodcut, and he's still got that inside line. Will he go for it? This is a brave place to try and overtake. We saw it go wrong between Hamilton and Verstappen a couple of years ago. He backs out, follows him through.
Yeah, blended out of it to get to the racing line. He wasn't as far alongside as he needed to be for an attack into super fast Copse corner, but he's got the grip. He's got so much grip on the softs. McLaren have given Lando a headache pitting him onto that hard tyre.
And McLaren is so quick on those hards. Impressive.
Yeah, that's interesting hearing from Russell, and we know, particularly in that area through the fast corners, Cox, Maggots, Beckett's down to Stowe, they are very quick there. That's why Lewis is actually attacking in a different zone where they are perhaps a bit more vulnerable.
George maybe thought that he was going to have a couple of easy passes then on Piastri and Norris. Probably the McLaren that he's talking about is the one that's in front of him, which is the second one of Oscar Piastri.
Key point right here. DRS is enabled. Hamilton 0.7 of a second, less than 0.8 of a second. Oh, it's climbed up to 9 now. Only a few hundredths outside, and there he is. He's fallen outside of it as they're heading towards that first DRS zone. It's going to be close.
He's got back into it. He's back within the second just as they come through. Yes, so he will have DRS this time.
Oh, only just. Great job from Norris to get that gap opened up. Incredible pace, as Russell said, from these McLarens on the hard compound.
Yeah, even with DRS, Hamilton's too far back now towards the second, and Norris has done the perfect job on this restart without the grip. He's held the line where he had to, he's defended when he had to as well, and he's eked out that gap, but Hamilton's still within DRS range.
Stroll going around the outside of Gasly. Did it work?
He needs to give it back the position now.
Yeah, we're on it, mate. Stay calm.
You can see that has been noted. He left the track and gained an advantage by staying in front of Pierre Gasly. So whether he's going to get a penalty or not, we shall wait and see. Max Verstappen with a comfortable advantage, 2.5 seconds over Lando Norris in second, but Lewis Hamilton still chasing with DRS. Piastri fourth, Russell fifth. There's Fernando Alonso, chased by Carlos Sainz and Sergio Perez. And Perez is definitely on the attack of the Ferrari, but hasn't found a way through yet.
Sainz has DRS from Alonso as well, so that's the best form of defence for Carlos Sainz, is to stay within the second of the Aston Martin ahead, and he is there for now, but Perez is going to be desperate for him to drop back and pounce as soon as he gets a chance.
On board with Perez. I wonder how frustrating this is for Charles Leclerc. He's a couple of places further back. He's still down in 10th.
Yeah, I mean, a team, a driver that was absolutely eyeing a podium at the start of this race, it's all gone wrong.
McLaren's fast in a straight line.
Copy.
Well, fast in a straight line, the McLaren. We have seen that all weekend.
Well, the Mercedes is not fast in a straight line, and we've seen that for quite a long time now in Formula One, so it means that he's not having an easy time trying to overtake even with DRS.
Doesn't really feel good, this tyre.
Okay, understood.
Soft tyre that Max is on, he went for the side. It's interesting he says that, because that's what Hamilton's on as well as he tries to chase Norris, whereas McLaren, he is close this time though, as they head down towards Maggots and Beckett, but he hasn't had the straight line speed he needs.
He's got to stay close through these corners now. He's really close at Copse. He's obviously attacking with the DRS into Brooklands, but can he stay close through this high-speed section? Because then this is where there's another DRS chance. If we jump on more visor cam with Lewis, heading down behind Lando Norris for second place. He looks a bit too far back still.
Yeah, he'd have to make such a big lunge there to try and make a pass. It's just not enough.
No, you know, he's 4, maybe 5/10 kind of going through that section. By the time he comes out onto the straight, it's jumped up to 0.8 of a second, and that's just a little bit too far for the DRS to really have enough effect to make a pass happen as we hit 10 to go with Max crossing the line.
And now those hard tyres of Lando Norris, they're working well, and the soft tyres, although we do know the Mercedes worked the soft tyre well for George Russell in the early stint of this race. He did a very long stint on the soft tyre, so it seemed to work with the car, and you would think that Hamilton's going to maintain reasonable pace within 7/10 now, in an area where I think actually Lando's a little more vulnerable in this area than he is in the other one.
Yeah, I think the hard and the low speed is definitely more of a handful than it is through that high-speed section through Maggots and Beckett's.
Not close enough to attack though, is he? He's not going to be able to do a similar move that we saw from George Russell earlier.
It's a bigger braking zone into Brooklands. That's the corner they've just gone through at turn 6. Then he's so close coming down towards Cox, but there's nothing doing into this corner unless you're right alongside, and they flash through again. So close. If he could carry this sort of speed through these corners, he'd have a chance into Stowe after the hanger straight, but it's not a big break there either, so you need to really be alongside coming into the corner.
I wonder how this feels for so many fans here at Silverstone this weekend, though. The two British rivals here, Lando Norris versus Lewis Hamilton, within the same families. I'm sure you've got people, one cheering for Lando, somebody else cheering for Lewis. It must be happening all the way around. You're on board with Sergio Perez, very much closer now to Carlos Sainz.
But look how close Sainz is to Alonso as well. Perez is really close. He's going to have a dive here towards Vale.
Down the inside, Sergio Perez has a look to try and get past Carlos. Carlos gives him space, and thankfully they don't touch, but he's now got it on the exit and he's through.
Nicely done, Checo. And now the Williams of Alex Albon's going to try to capitalize on the Ferrari side by side into Stowe.
Wow, he's done it. Alex Albon gets past Carlos as well. Alex has gone up into 8th place.
Oh yes, from Alex Albon, really good commitment at the first corner. Now it's Leclerc around the outside of his teammate, creeps over track limits, but we'll have the inside for turn 4, and that one far up the inside from Sergio Perez, but Sainz way offline, left him vulnerable. The Red Bull came through, the Williams came through, now his teammate has come through as well.
Is that going offline? I mean, Carlos is thinking, can I go back past my teammate? Going offline, did that just put something on the tyres that gave him no grip?
I think it just compromised his exit. So first of all, Checo on the soft just slammed on the gas and came through as Gasly gets back past Lance Stroll, who's been cleared for passing him off track limits, and now Gasly will look at Carlos Sainz as well.
Carlos is struggling, isn't he?
Yeah, you got to think he picked up some debris going through the marbles on the outside of the corner there, because he's just struggling so much for grip. It does put you out of sequence and out of rhythm, but I feel like he lost a bit of grip there as well.
Well, remember, he's on the hard tyre, so he inherently has less grip. He's put offline by Perez having a lunge into Vale. It was a nice move from Checo. Put him offline. Checo comes through with the soft tyres. Albon then had the run because Carlos had to back out at club, and then he's just constantly out of sequence. Leclerc comes through as well. That's put him offline, and now he's fighting with his teammate. Those two behind are coming through. So it's just, once you step offline, you've got a line of cars behind you. You find yourself just looking in your mirrors the whole way, and you can't get back into the rhythm.
And it just all started from that great move from Checo Perez there. That was a lofty lunge down into turn 16.
Yeah.
Did the over-under, got on the throttle early enough, and that's what just set all that in motion. Carlos Sainz just plummeted.
I tell you what, though, Albon up into 8th place. That could really help Williams, because they are currently 4 points behind Haas, 2 points behind Alfa. If he finishes there, they would move ahead of Alfa Romeo and be tied with Haas in terms of the points. So that Albon into 8th could be key to them.
Yeah, with that Perez lunge, I mean, today's got worse for Ferrari. 9th and 10th now. Sainz way out of line there.
Oh, this is another one he could lose from Pierre Gasly. Gasly goes around the outside, and Pierre Gasly on target for 10th position. Oh, look at that, did they touch almost?
Sainz coming back up the inside, and Gasly into Cox corner. That's brave, and that's good from Carlos Sainz. You can make it through if you're there on the way in, and he's committed enough. Gasly not defending the inside, and he'll regret that for the moment. 10th and 11th, there's 1 point for these two. But Sainz is struggling on that hard tyre, and it shows even more clearly how well those McLarens are doing. They've stabilised now in 2nd and 4th.
Perez now attacking Fernando Alonso. This is for 6th place. Remember, Perez coming from 15th position. Can he do the same as we saw a moment ago? I think with Alonso, he'll be a little more cautious.
I mean, so far today, Alonso's been a tough car to pass. He's had a train of drivers lined up behind him for a good chunk of this Grand Prix, and very few have made it by. So this is going to be a much bigger incident. Oh, we've got contact. Gasly. No. Yeah, is he broken?
He's got a broken rear suspension, I think, or a puncture at the very least. Look at him crabbing out of the final corner.
Oh, he just pulled a George Russell on Carlos Sainz, lost it back into Copse. Now there's contact. We're hearing it may have been with Lance Stroll.
Goodness, Pierre Gasly, this means we're going to lose both of the Alpines from this race. No opportunity for them to score points at all. And are we going to get the car back without any yellow flags or a virtual safety car? We'll have to wait and see.
With McLaren running where they are, that's a bad hit for them in the Constructors' Championship as well.
Absolutely. Well, let's have a look at this. Perez still putting the attack on Fernando Alonso. Still got good speed on those soft tyres that he's on, but Alonso also on the soft tyre, so it's more about the performance of the Red Bull versus the performance of the Aston Martin.
Second and third in the championship, these two as well. Alonso, he was so good in Montreal, up on the podium. He's had a couple of less impressive races as the Aston Martin cars lacked a bit of pace, but in sixth, it's to be a good haul of points considering where he started.
Otherwise, there's no change from Hamilton. He's dropped away a little bit from Norris further up. Perez trying to pick up that slipstream. Here we go. Sergio Perez down the inside, makes the move up into sixth place, gets past Fernando Alonso. He had the straight line speed he needed.
He had the straight line speed. He had the grip out of those soft Pirelli tires. That was a great move. This is the kind of aggression we needed to see from Checo. Maybe a little earlier in the race. He's running out of laps, only 5 to go. Yeah, and still a few more positions. Christian Horner wanted to see him up on the podium today. He did it last week. A bit trickier to get through the field here at Silverstone. And let's take a look at what happened with Gasly and Stroll. Oh,
Stroll's come from off the track there and launched in at the next corner. There was space to stay on the track, so that's Stroll for me. Gasly looking in the mirrors, these two having a nice fight. Pierre's on the inside. And look, there's enough space for Lance to keep a wheel on the track there. He's come from further away, and then he's launched in and collided with the Alpine. So I think Lance will get a pen for that.
It's under investigation already. No great surprise there. Yeah, bounces over. If he'd slowed it down a bit more, he could have maybe made it round.
Yeah, it just looks like he just carried too much speed in, especially when he got up over the curb. The car hopped a little bit and speared him into the Alpine. So tough break. Both those guys were driving, you know, they're having a fun little battle. I know neither one of them wants to be fighting over just the final championship point, but at the same time, both drivers' days have taken a big hit there.
Up front, it's still Max Verstappen who looks comfortably in control of this race from Lando Norris in second place, who managed to fend off Lewis Hamilton on the restart. Had to fight hard to do it, but Hamilton some 2 seconds behind. Piastri still in a very solid 4th place, and 5th place for George Russell. George is not getting any closer, 2.5 seconds behind, 5 laps to go as in comes Pierre Gasly. So no need for a virtual safety car. He has managed to bring the car back in.
Yeah, and a long way to bring it back. An entire lap from where he was hit by Stroll, but in he is. So no points for Alpine, and they'll wince. Gasly will wince as he looks up and sees McLaren in 2nd and 4th.
Yeah, actually it's going to put them virtually together. You know, I wonder if McLaren might actually just go ahead of Alpine in terms of the Constructors' Championship because of this, with no points scored. It's going to be close between them, so this has been a hurtful weekend for them, no doubt about it.
Getting a message from race control, the black and white flag for car 63. That's George Russell running in 5th. One more track limits violation, a penalty could come.
All right, so George has to be careful, but not too far to go in this race now. He's still 2.4 seconds behind Piastri. I don't think he's got the pace, as we heard from him on the radio when he was saying how quick the McLaren is in a straight line. I don't think he's got the pace to push Piastri in the closing laps.
Yeah, the track limits have been for consecutive laps at Stowe, turn 15, long right-hander before the pit entry. So George just got to rein it in a little bit there, because he's got a lot more to lose by picking up a 5-second penalty than he has to try and find a 1/10 of a second through that corner over the next 4 laps.
Alex Albon doing a fine job for Williams, still holding on to 8th place, isn't it? Amazing that a Williams is staying ahead of 2 Ferraris. They are within DRS zone. It's not over yet, this, because Leclerc is getting a little closer here. We know, though, that Albon can be very defensive in situations like this.
And this car's been genuinely fast this weekend. Albon deserves points from what he's put into this weekend, I think. Started in the top 10, was rapid throughout practice. Race pace, we thought they'd slip back, and they did a little bit. He's done well to fit under the safety car. Had a touch of luck there, but made a pass on Carlos Sainz, was aggressive when he needed to be. And with just a few laps to go, running in 8th place, still within DRS range of Alonso ahead, which is going to be critical for him, keeping Leclerc behind.
Saw that warning there, that announcement from race control. Black and white flag for Lando Norris, car 4. Now one more track limits violation. You'll see a 5-second penalty, and that would take him right off the podium. Oh, that's close. It would, yeah, it would. It would take him off the podium as they stand right
So
now.
Mercedes have got to get on the radio to Lewis Hamilton and say, just hammer it now for a couple of laps. It's hammer time. Because if he can just up the pressure, he can force Lando to just delve deep and maybe risk going over track limits. Put the pressure on, and anything can happen.
I mean, after the drive Lando's had today, if that were to happen, it would be absolutely devastating. You saw the voting so far for driver of the day. It's a slam dunk. He's done an incredible job. Let's not let it have let's not let it all come undone here with a small track limits violation with just a handful of laps to go.
No, he's got to keep it clean, no doubt about it, but it's looking promising still as Charles Leclerc continues to try and attack Alex Albon as they come down the hangar straight. Let's see, Albon has got the DRS though behind Alonso, so that's helping him to stay in position and not allowing Leclerc to get that much closer. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton on target for yet another podium here at Silverstone. Remarkable when you consider he started down in 7th place, and it has worked for him in terms of the timing of the safety car, but also great performance, staying out on the tyres earlier on, and Lewis Hamilton on target for yet another podium finish here. You have to go back to 2013 when he was last not on the podium at Silverstone. Lance Stroll has been given a penalty, plus 5 second penalty for causing that collision. You thought that was going to be the case. Now that will mean he'll drop from 11th place. Sargent will certainly take that 11th place, so will Bottas. Hulkenberg might even move ahead, so they're all still pretty close in that little group. It depends how much he can put in the last few laps.
Yeah, 11th for Sargent would be a career best. Just so close to the points will be a little bit of a shame and a little bit of a sting for the young American driver, but still, you know, they've had a quick car all weekend, maybe missed a little bit of the potential in qualifying, but to end up with a career best finish would be a nice takeaway from the weekend.
Look at Albon. Albon's still just running behind Fernando Alonso here, like for like on tyres, and the Williams and the Aston Martin are finally matched. Albon actually looks the quicker of the two right now, putting a bit of pressure on Alonso.
Yeah, it's impressive what he's able to do. Alonso really hasn't had the sort of weekend that we've seen so often this year. He's been struggling to fend people off, and as you say, Albon's getting closer and closer now, and there could be an opportunity in the closing laps here for him. We're on lap 51 out of 52, and Max Verstappen very much on target for yet another victory, as we see many stars here enjoying the show, enjoying the fun and games.
You lip read from Flores Pugh there. Incredibly fast, I think she said, that she's getting a taste of the action down there.
Hamilton getting a little closer to Norris right now, but I don't think he's really still going to be in the zone that he needs. Meanwhile, this little group, look at it, Alonso, followed by Albon and Leclerc. Behind them, you have got Carlos Sainz, but he's dropped away a little bit, and I think 10th place is all that Carlos is going to get out of this. The man who won here 12 months ago. Very, very different story for Carlos on this weekend.
Yeah, you're right, Julian. That Williams is looking pretty racy. That Aston Martin's just really struggled for race pace today. The only reason it's still up in the top 10 is because Fernando Alonso, I think, is driving it, but Leclerc also on the back of Albon here. Albon's got a dual job, trying to get by the Aston, but trying to keep the Ferrari behind.
We know how good he is at defending because he's got such good straight line speed. Well, it will help him in attacking as well, as we're riding now through maggots, blending out the throttle, a little bit of brake now for the left-hander of Beckett's, and dabbing the brake twice now for the right-hander. He's still so close, maximising track width that opens the DRS again. The Williams is so quick in a straight line, but it's not doing enough for him heading down towards Stowe. And look, Leclerc's right there as well, wanting to pick up some pieces.
Well, let's see if this is going to change at all. We are on the final lap now for the race leader. These guys are going to head around onto the final lap in just a moment. The interval between Verstappen and Norris, some 3.4 seconds. Hamilton has dropped back again a little bit in that third place. It looks like that's all set. It's all this battle for 7th place that could perhaps change. Alonso, Albon and Leclerc, virtually nothing to choose between them. And you can see Leclerc getting that little bit closer to Albon here. Is there going to be an opportunity? Or they're going to run out of time and space.
Albon's offline here. We went wide in 3, and Leclerc is going to be so close. Albon will have DRS, so will Leclerc, but look how much of a slipstream Charles is going to pick up. He'll have to go defensive here, Albon.
Let's have a look around the outside. Charles Leclerc's going to have a go around the outside through Brooklands, but Alex Albon's got good speed through now. Can he cut back and do the other move we saw earlier? No, he hasn't got the grip.
Leclerc didn't do enough. He was on the right line coming into the corner, but was too cautious, waiting for a switchback, and actually Albon was late on the brakes from the inside, still hooked up a really nice racing line, so didn't lose much time there. Leclerc didn't force the issue enough.
Yeah, it's not quite happening for him, is it?
But he still wants it. It's not done yet. There's still 1 or 2 good passing opportunities, one into Stowe, then down into turn 16. Into the Vale, it can be done, but that's straight line speed of the Williams, like you said, Julian. Now he is trying to get out of the draft, or break the draft from Leclerc.
Meanwhile, Max Verstappen comes out of the final corner. Max wins the British Grand Prix. It's the first time he's won it as the British Grand Prix, the second time he's won here at Silverstone. Lando Norris finishes in a brilliant second. Lewis Hamilton in third. Two British drivers will be celebrating on the podium. Piastri finishes in fourth, his best finish in Formula One. Fifth place for Russell. Perez sixth. Alonso holds on to seventh, ahead of Alex Albon, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. And what a result this is for McLaren. Second and fourth positions. We didn't expect them to be able to hold on quite so well, and of course Piastri lost out partly because of the safety car, but for Max Verstappen, he controlled this all the way. His 8th win of 2023, the 43rd of his career, and the 6th consecutive victory this season. He's the 5th driver ever to do that.
Very impressive, Max. Keep marching on. Well done.
Yeah, not bad that. Good. We had a good race. Just I think that last stint was a bit more difficult than I would have liked with these tires, but overall good pace. Great jump again, guys.
Well done, mate. That's our first win here since 2012, and it matches a record of McLaren of 11 wins in a row. So, yeah, mega day for the team. Well done.
Yeah, great job. Great job, guys. 11 in a row. That's pretty crazy. Well done.
Celebrations become debriefs for Max Verstappen, given his dominance this year. It's routine for him to do a drive like that.
Yeah, it was funny to see the difference between the Red Bull garage who won and the McLaren garage who finished second and fourth. You would have thought the orange team had won, the papaya team, I should say, won that race, but this is essentially a win. Second place for Lando.
And P2, great job, man. Vamos! Great job.
Hey, podium in my home race. Podium in our home race.
Yeah, man. Fantastic. Podium on our home race. Well done, mate. Great job. Position 13. Great job.
Brilliant stuff. First ever podium here at Silverstone, the 7th of his career and the first of this year. What a place to get his first podium of this 2023 season at his home event. This is going to mean so much to Lando Norris. Brilliantly done. And to Lewis Hamilton, who has had very many podiums here at the British Grand Prix over the years, kept up the record over the years. He's had 13 in total if you include the anniversary ones, and number 14 now.
Nice work, Lewis. So that's P3, mate. That's an awesome day, mate. Really great drive.
Yeah, thanks, Bono. That McLaren's a rocket ship. High speed is insane. Well done, guys. Mega job with the pit stop and strategy.
Lewis, great race. What a recovery. Remember yesterday.
Great stuff. And don't forget, of course, the McLaren has the same power unit, doesn't it? Sitting in the back of its car as Lewis has, and yet he was so impressed by the speed of it in a straight line.
They've done a great job, McLaren, with the upgrades, and I feel a little bit for Oscar Piastri today. He was matching Lando so closely and was just purely unlucky with race strategy. But somehow Hamilton is back on the British Grand Prix podium. Just things happen for him here. I mean, a race that he's got a bad start, remember, lost a couple of positions, but got back for a podium. 2 Brits on the podium, but a one-man race out front still. Verstappen never ran away with it, was never gone, but he was just relentlessly solid enough.
Smallest win margin of the year by a big factor as well, so maybe it does show that they're not completely unbeatable. Everyone else is getting better, but it's still going to take a big effort to overhaul this driver and this team right now.
It's actually the first time we've had 2 British drivers on the podium in a British Grand Prix since 1999. David Coulthard and Eddie Irvine were both on the podium that year, and this time we've got Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. So it's been a long period that 2 British drivers are going to be celebrated here at Silverstone on the podium, but Max Verstappen fully deserves the victory he took, and that consecutive run that he was being told about by Christian Horner, 11th consecutive for Red Bull in terms of victories, funnily enough matching the McLaren record. So although McLaren gave them a hard time, Red Bull and McLaren are now tied for the number of consecutive wins done. McLaren's record comes from 1988, that remarkable season with Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, and now there's a chance for Red Bull to take a new one. Well done, says George Russell. That's nice. He comes over to congratulate Lando Norris and to congratulate his teammate as well, even though he was one of the ones that kind of missed out on that safety car period.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't lucky, but it was a great drive from George, pulling off that incredible overtake. And here you go, the two Brits up on the podium here at home. What a cool feeling.
That's what he wanted. Well, he wanted a top 5, Lando Norris, but he led the Grand Prix. That's something to tick in your F1 career, leading your home race. Led it for a few laps, and then second place, beyond his wildest dreams, I think.
You can see all the neon hats. Those are all Lando hats. A lot of them out there. We'd made the joke yesterday after qualifying. They were going to sell out a Lando merch on the way out of the track last night and on the way in this morning. But just a phenomenal effort from that young man and that team.
We just saw Alex Albon come through, of course, and he's dual nationality, British and Thai, races under a Thai license, but he was in the points as well. So you had all of them in the points: Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell and Alex Albon, all in the points today. So it's been a tremendous race for so many of them that grew up with Silverstone being their main feature in motor racing life. And they didn't get the victory today, but they certainly delivered beautifully and put on a tremendous display. But for McLaren, what a lift this is for that team to have done what they've done, to score so effectively here today, and to move themselves up in the constructors' battle against Alpine in particular. And a big smile on the face for Lando Norris. Wonderful.
That'll launch McLaren, I think, quite a way ahead of Alpine, about 12 points ahead of Alpine in one fair swoop there.
Yeah, so that's a big climb for Lewis Hamilton. Well, he's used to the feeling of being on the podium many times here at Silverstone in the past, but a victory was a bit beyond him on this occasion. He's had 8 wins in total here in the past. Let's go down and hear from our top 3 with David.
Max Verstappen, your second victory at the British Grand Prix. Little congratulations from your engineer there, GP. People are talking about the dominance of you this season, but that was far from easy to win that race.
Yeah, we had a terrible start, so we need to look into that, why that was. But even after that, I think, especially Lando, he was very, well, both McLarens in the beginning, they were super quick. So took a few laps to pass them. And then at one point I could ease out the gap, and I think everything looked quite all right again. But then again, after the safety car on the softest compound around here, was a little bit more tricky for us to keep them alive, basically. So the gap basically stayed a bit around 3.5 seconds. So yeah, I think, of course, very happy that we won again. And I mean, 11 wins in a row for the team. I think that's pretty incredible. But it wasn't straightforward today.
We know how it finished. Take us back to the start, off the line. Seemed like you got a little bit more wheel spin in your initial phase, and that allowed Lando to really just, come up your inside before turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a bit of drifting on Thursday with marketing, and it felt like I was doing that also in the start, which wasn't very good there. It was just very, very bad. So we'll look into that, because I think the last few starts were actually a lot better. And then today wasn't that great, but at least it made it a bit more exciting, to push for it. And I mean, Lando didn't really put up a fight. He was very nice to me, but then he actually came back again in the DRS, so he had a lot of pace today.
Well, we've got Lando here. You guys are good buddies, so...
He did very well today.
Well, there you go. Well, Max, congratulations on your victory. We're now going to go over to Lando. Great to see the friendship between you two guys. I suspect that will change if you keep performing like you have this weekend. You drove brilliantly, and you had to defend against a 7-time world champion whilst leading against a 2-time world champion.
Yeah, pretty insane. I just want to say a big thanks for the whole team. They've done an amazing job, and none of this would be possible without the hard work that they've been putting in. So pretty amazing, pretty insane to put up with the fight. They put me on hard tires. I don't know why. They're still beginners in some things, but yeah, it was an amazing fight with Lewis to hold him off. I made a few too many mistakes maybe, but I did what I could. I brought the fight to Max for as long as possible. It's a long, lonely race when you're just in the middle, but it's amazing. So yeah.
We heard you calling for the soft tires. That looked like the majority of teams were going that route. So with the hards, though, it was very impressive what McLaren were able to deliver.
Yeah, I think they just wanted to give me a bit more of a test, I guess. That's what Zach said anyway. Probably Zach called the shots on that one. Yeah, I mean, I wanted the softs. I feel like it made a bit more sense, especially with the safety car coming out, but I don't care. I was on P2, so all good.
P2 in your first podium here at the British Grand Prix, and I think your 7th podium in your racing career.
Yeah, pretty amazing. I mean, the whole in-lap, I was just trying to wave to everyone. So a big thanks to all the British fans out here supporting all of us. Also for McLaren. Honestly, we should have had a P2 or P3. Oscar did an amazing job all weekend, and he should have been P3 today without the safety car. So a shame, he deserved it. But yeah, the fans were amazing. So a big thanks to all of them.
Lando, congratulations. Enjoy the podium as you walk off. Lewis Hamilton, welcome to your 14th podium at the British Grand Prix. Lewis, you talk about the power of the crowd here. You did it again. You came from what was obviously a difficult qualifying to deliver a brilliant podium here at Silverstone.
Well, firstly, I didn't do it. The crowd did it. Once again, Silverstone put on an amazing show. We've got the greatest crowd here, and so big thank you to everyone for supporting. I think I felt the energy, I felt the support, which is the reason we got back up there. Also, I just want to say a big congratulations to Lando and to McLaren, where it was my family, is where I first started. So to see them back up there looking so strong, I mean, that thing was rapid through the high-speed corners. I was, wow. I couldn't keep up, but we had a good little battle on the restart. And the start wasn't so great for me, but the long run on the medium was really great. So I think this is a good positive for us as a team to know that we're not that far away. We just got to keep on pushing, and we can catch those guys up front.
Fantastic to see two British drivers on the podium here. We don't see that so often. We're watching here behind you, that battle you had with Lando. You got him up the inside of Brooklands, and then, well, you just didn't quite have the straight line speed as you went to Cops.
No, he's once he goes through turn 13 and 14 or 15, he's gone. So we had good performance in the low speed, but yeah, we had a good little battle there. Just didn't have the grunt on the straights. But I'm really happy to start 7th and come 3rd is a mega job. So big thank you to my team. Great pit stops, great work all weekend, and I love this crowd.
Well, Lewis, we should give the final word to you, to the crowd.
Well, it continues to be an honor for me to race and represent all of you. So we're going to continue to push. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope you had a great day today. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Lewis Hamilton.
Thank you.
Tremendous response, and no great surprise there. So much to celebrate for the fans. We'll have a little listen if we can.
Yeah, I think the softs are okay for like certain amount of laps.
But the worst thing on here is just getting the battery back
After the restart?
Yeah, because I had to use like overtake so much.
Spamming the button.
I was holding down the whole safety car ruined it.
Otherwise it would have been quite a straightforward end.
It would have been P2, P3.
Yeah, for Oscar.
Oscar got insane stuff. Oscar would have overtaken me.
No, yeah, I went on the side-by-side with Oscar into Cops.
Oh my god.
I said, don't understeer.
Don't do it last
year.
Don't do it a couple years ago.
Yeah. Oh. No. Oh!
Turn 3 and 4 is tricky, huh?
Yeah.
Next to the last corner.
The beginning of the race with the win. I mean, the whole race was tough, but there were a few laps of the win. Yeah, that's why I was gaining a bit left, right, in the first stint.
Yeah, you were.
You were quick between 11 and 14.
Actually, just in the straights, we're not right. What a rocket shit.
All right, mate.
Relax. Wow. Doesn't even look like a Red Bull, looks like an Aston.
Sure, but when you go through 9 and all
We're
this
quick and high speed, that saved me. That saved me every lap.
Wow. Bloody hell, I couldn't believe how great
well,
that was. It was just nice to watch. It was beautiful to watch from behind. I was like, every time I saw you go through 15, I was just, wow.
Oh.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that saved me.
Jeez. Were you far off him in the first stint?
9 seconds.
You still have it.
Always fun to listen into a bit of the conversation that's going on in that kind of situation, isn't it? And fun hearing from Lewis about the battle with Lando.
Lewis was comparing the McLaren to the Red Bull yesterday after qualifying, saying they've upgraded car, looks a lot more like the Red Bull. Lando saying, hang on, we're more like the Aston, to be honest, Lewis. Either way, they found a lot of performance, as Aston Martin did as well over the winter, and it's good to see more cars in the fight at the front end. 4 teams battling at the start of the season. McLaren look like they're there as well. Don't forget, Esteban Ocon's had a podium this season. Very, very open behind Red Bull. Or behind Max, really.
But it's such a mix in that group, as you say. You know, McLaren have had a fabulous weekend this weekend, but for Aston Martin it wasn't such a good weekend. They've had plenty of podiums this year with Fernando Alonso, but 7th place, he had to really fight in those last few laps to fend off Albon and Leclerc. He did it, but Aston Martin was definitely struggling here.
They will have better days. This wasn't a great circuit for them with the high speed.
Yeah, didn't suit them so well. So let's go and enjoy the drivers heading out. Lewis Hamilton has finished 3rd to take his 14th podium at the British Grand Prix, and the fans are just making their way down to that area of the circuit. Lovely to see. 2nd place, his first podium at Silverstone in Formula One for Lando Norris. And for McLaren, a brilliant result with him 2nd and his teammate 4th, who missed out on 3rd due to safety car, but still did a great job. And Max Verstappen taking another victory in 2023. The anthems play out. On his 150th start with the Red Bull team, he has won from pole once again, and Max Verstappen absolutely dominating the season. You wonder how long it's going to take. We haven't even got quite to the halfway stage of the season. We're nearly there, but you wonder how long it's going to take for him to wrap up his 3rd world title this year. He's in such good form at this stage. There's every chance he's going to be doing it very, very early on in the whole sequence of races that are still to come, but there's a lot to enjoy, particularly seeing other teams fighting their way up towards the top. The Constructor Trophy being handed over, and it's lovely to see that up on the podium there is Giampiero Lambiesi. That is the man who is his race engineer, Max's race engineer. You hear him on the radio quite often. They have a great relationship. You hear it on the radio. Well, that's him. That's GP Lambiesi that you hear talking to Max as his race engineer. So 2nd place trophy going to Lando Norris. Oh, what a great achievement. His 7th ever podium, but to do it here at Silverstone. There's Zach Brown, the team boss, having one of his best weekends ever. He was so delighted after what they did in qualifying yesterday. And David Richards, the chair of Motorsport UK, he hands out the trophy for 3rd place to Lewis Hamilton. It's lovely to see Lewis's family here this weekend. Silverstone always a key part for them. And the beautiful, beautiful trophy that has been around in Formula One and here at Silverstone for many, many, many years. But just wait until the champagne doesn't get sprayed all over it. But the guys are having a wonderful time. Lando Norris celebrating his 2nd place. Lewis Hamilton in 3rd as Max Verstappen takes the trophy. The first time he's actually won the British Grand Prix under that title. 2nd time he's won here at Silverstone, but the first time he's been given that trophy for the British Grand Prix. It has worked perfectly for the Red Bull team. 22nd win from pole position at Silverstone, just like Carlos Sainz did last year. This time, it was Max Verstappen's example. Lovely to see our top 3 drivers, 2 British drivers on that podium for the first time in some 24 years. Max Verstappen there with his race engineer, their relationship so important in terms of the success that he's been delivering. And it's nice to see Lewis Hamilton and Max actually having the odd conversation. We don't often see that nowadays.
Yeah, such a rivalry in the past between them, but they can enjoy this moment together. 3 very happy drivers today, which is what you want to see on the podium. Lando very happy, 2nd place, equals his best ever result, still waiting for that elusive victory. Lewis Hamilton back to a podium, the 2 Brits smiling for the cameras up there, and of course none of them able to yet compete with Max Verstappen. They're getting closer. At some point this year, surely they'll be able to take the fight fully to Red Bull, but probably after the summer break, there's still enough in hand at the moment for Max and the team.
Yeah, but what a lift this weekend has been for McLaren. It really has been superb for them, and well done to the team for delivering such a good car. And I feel a bit sad that we don't see Oscar Piastri in all these pictures, because I think he delivered a superb performance all weekend, qualifying and race.
He showed what he could do. He finished within a second of Lewis Hamilton as well, was really close, and he'll be gutted actually after that one. Rookie driver, so close to a podium. When will he get his next chance? Well, with the pace of the McLaren, maybe it'll be quite soon.
There's a good chance. It was lovely to see the young Australian driver put in such a brilliant performance. Let's take a look at the full result then of the British Grand Prix. Max Verstappen taking victory once again, but followed up by the two Brits, Lando Norris bringing home a second place finish for McLaren, and Lewis Hamilton third for Mercedes. Oscar Piastri, brilliant drive all weekend, had to settle for fourth place due to the safety car in the end. Fifth place for George Russell. Sergio Perez coming up from 15th to 6th. Alonso 7th, just beating Alexander Albon and Charles Leclerc. That battle went all the way to the checkered flag. And Carlos Sainz picked up the final point in 10th place. Outside the points, Logan Sargent, but he's a top result for him. One more, he'll be in the points for the first time. Valtteri Bottas behind, then Nico Hülkenberg, Lance Stroll, Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, Nick de Vries, Pierre Gasly, unfortunately with damage on his car, and two non-finishes, Kevin Magnussen and Esteban Ocon. But Max Verstappen taking all of that race and the fastest lap as well as pole position. Another dominant performance by the Dutch driver. So in the driver's standings, it means that Max has a very, very comfortable lead. Look at that, it's nearly 100 points now over his own teammate Sergio Perez at this stage in the championship after 10 rounds. Fernando Alonso still in that third place. Lewis Hamilton in fourth ahead of Carlos Sainz and George Russell. Charles Leclerc next up, and then Lance Stroll, and Lando Norris has moved up to 9th place now, gaining a position. Esteban Ocon dropping one, he's down to 10th. Oscar Piastri, of course, has moved up, and that's one of the biggest gains thanks to his fourth place finish. He's now up into 11th place. Pierre Gasly's dropped down. Alexander Albon holding on to 13th as he's got some useful points there. Hülkenberg, Bottas, Zhou, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Sargent and de Vries all missed out on scoring points here today. Well, let's take a look at the constructors' standings as well, with Red Bull dominating everything. 411 points, now over 200 points ahead of Mercedes. Aston Martin in third and Ferrari fourth. No change there, but then you do have a change. McLaren have jumped ahead of Alpine. They were quite a way behind Alpine coming into Silverstone, and now you can see they're 12 points ahead of Alpine. Williams have also gained, so they are now tied with Haas. AlphaTauri are further behind. So it has been a wonderful weekend to enjoy, to see the British fans enjoying British drivers delivering great displays during that race. They may not have got the victory, but the next best with second and third place finishes for Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen, the commanding man in Formula One right now.